recording now. Let me unmute. Let me go to far 1.5. Beautiful. So I am here with Mr.Mangler. We are doing a video request by Rock and Alice for every JoJo villain versus the Akatsuki.
hmm Yeah, it's by Kaleb I. Yes.
He's known for being a
Um,
JoJo YouTuber, so it will be very
yes.
interesting to see what's going to happen here. By all rights, the Akatsuki should lose this one. They get out hacks pretty substantially.
Yeah, it's well, some of them depending on the stand get like speed blitzed into the ground.
Well, they get speed blitzed by pretty
Um,
much all of them.
yeah, but like I'm saying, like even if like we're saying like all of them could react to the speed of light, there are things like Made in Heaven and the World that are like faster, like much faster.
Well, what I'm interested to see is whether or not he's going to cap it at, like, let's say, Dirty Deeds, or if he's going to get a Love Train as well.
Yeah, because I don't know. So from what I'm looking at this, because you know how you can like look at part of the video by like rubbing your like mouse across it, and it shows you like sort of like a picture of it.
Yes.
I think he just kind of is like breaking down what their arsenal can do for like the first 20 or so minutes. Um, if you want to go over a little bit of that, just see what the format is, and then we could just check like a few of the you know Akatsuki things and a few of the JoJo's things, and then we'll eventually just go straight to like
It looks well
the
edited.
actual interactions themselves. No,
Alright, let me know when you're ready to start.
we can start whenever you're ready.
Wonderful.
To 1.5 speed probably
That's what I'm doing
to
it
make it
at.
as fast as possible. Yep.
Wonderful.
Is an organization of S-rank criminals who function together as a unit. They have coordination, they have partners, they have, in general, teamwork. But against them today, the JoJo villains, they are a bunch of individualistic antagonists with essentially just abilities that warp reality, time, space, causality, everything of the sort. Now, the question here is what happens when you have a pretty decent team of ninjas that are working together, they're well-oiled, everything, against a group of essentially reality-breaking individuals who just don't work together at all. I think the rules are standard. Everyone's going to have their equipment and abilities. They fight in character, no prep time. Both sides know that the other exists, but they have no intel on their abilities. Starting this off, we have Nagato as Pain. Now, Nagato controls 6 bodies through the Rinnegan. They all share vision. He's his own combo route.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause for a second. If you're going to start with Nagato, why are you giving him the corpses? You might as well just do Nagato on his own, using his own body, because he's more powerful when he's not focusing on, like, Tendo and the rest of the
I think he's just.
and the rest of the, like,
I,
corpses.
I, I think he's using it that way just because the Akatsuki, as they're presented in the setting, has Nagato in the 6 baths of pain. But I'm assuming he's also going to keep Obito under Orange Mask Obito. If he's not, that's going to be
Well,
a bit questionable.
yeah, he should stay as Toby. He shouldn't get anything during the war arc.
Yeah, no Edo versions of other characters either.
No. All right, we'll continue.
He's 6 people. You already know what I mean. Now, his combat is through the Deva Path, which he uses Almighty Push and Almighty Pull, which is like Shinra Tensei and Bansho Tenin to do all.
Okay, enough of the Japanese names. Just use the English ones, for fuck's sake.
I was gonna say
Almighty
he
Pull
already used the
and
English
Almighty.
one. I don't know
He
why.
has Universal Pull, Almighty Push, and Planetary Devastation. That's basically the only corpse that's actually worth a damn in a fight is Tendo, which is Yahiko. Everybody else is not worth spitting on in terms of combat, unless you're just going to use Nagato himself. Or
Well, hang
would
on
you
a
disagree
minute.
with
Are
that?
we really? Are we really going to talk? We were going to talk about the animal path and the human path. I think ripping out people's souls and creating invisible chameleons that can paralyze people are really like that's pretty useful. Also, flooding the battlefield with summons that can't die, like the Chimera, is pretty useful. The Praetor Path is completely useless outside of Verse, though. Only good for absorbing chakra. The the uh the Ozra path is very hit or miss, and the path that revives the dead is very circumstantial. You have to be losing the fight for it to be any kind of usefulness.
Well, he has to also be away from the initial battle for it to even be like applicable. Otherwise, it can just get interrupted.
Yep.
And that's
Anyway,
and
let's
that's if
continue.
and
That's the
that's
30
if he's
lines.
next to like one of the corpses to begin with, or like one of the allied corpses, because he has to physically go to it. It's not like a door where he can just like fast travel them.
Yeah, I think because of how long this video is, if he says what is generally consistent with the form, I will let it off. Unless he says something that is completely egregious, like it is objectively wrong, and it is something that like needs to be corrected. Like we just let the video play.
No worries.
All of his moves are basically like gravity. These are his go-to moves. He can repel anything around him, or he can yank his enemies towards him. The cooldown on it, 5 seconds. Will it matter? Kind of depends. Beyond that, we have the animal path that summons creatures. We have the Praetor path. It's absorbing chakra moves, so we're pretty much fine in that regard. But the Ashura path has mechanical weapons, and the human path reads minds and extracts souls on contact. On contact. Lastly, we have the Naraka path, which revives the fallen pains through the King of Hell. It's a lot of stuff. His ultimate ability, if he can get this off, is Chabaku Tensei. He creates this gravity core and pulls everything in the area into a giant sphere. You can seal most things in it. What I would say matters the most in this fight, I think the human path with the soul extraction, that's like an insta-kill. That matters a lot. Chabaku Tensei.
Okay, so I just paused it because he said like the human path is basically an instant death. It's like yes and no, depends on the verse. Not all verses see the soul as like if you separate the soul, you're dead. You've got series like Supernatural where if you separate the soul, you're basically fine. You're just a psychopath now.
Yeah, I think for JoJo's it while the soul does have your willpower and your emotions in it, taking out like the soul of someone can like severely impede them, as we do see with like Poochie when he uses Whitesnake to take out Jotaro's stand. It basically puts him in a coma. But I'm gonna talk about why that might not work later on when he gets to JoJo's characters.
Well, that mostly be because that's a more of a white snake applicable power, but also like you don't really want to try and physically touch any of these stands that are coming up.
Oh yeah, I just well let's continue.
Yeah.
That matters a lot. The Naraka path destroying a body and that not being permanent. Just like I think they're doing a lot. There's no blind spots because it's 6 guys. It's 1 guy with 6 guys. It's crazy. Next up, we have Obito, Uchiha, and
YoPro,
Sorry.
powered by 15 grams of protein and vitamin B12. Support your muscles.
I did not get an ad.
and since he's an Uchiha, a specialty.
Okay. Why are we using? Hopefully he's saying Obito, but he means Toby.
Listen, why don't we just keep going until he says something that's actually, or we're gonna be here forever.
Very well.
Be Sharingan stuff. He has Kamui. This makes himself tangible by either sending parts of his body or his whole body to the Kamui dimension, and attacks will pass through him. It'll look like, oh hey, I'm here, but he transferred like his actual self away, temporarily speaking. It's sort of like conditional cream from Vanilla Ice. He can also warp other people, and then just in general himself, between these dimensions. It's Kamui dimension and the regular place, and sometimes it could be other places too, whatever. His combat is mainly phasing through these attacks. I think it hasn't been something else for a while. He uses wood release from Hashirama cells, which is like, okay, I'm a wood guy. They can be sharp wood, hardwood, whatever the heck.
Okay, so he's officially going to be using stuff from the war.
No. He's technically using stuff that Obito has always had. So Obito has always had a wood body. We just only find out about that during the war arc. The war arc, he doesn't need the Rinnegan to do that because all the war arc does is give him the Rinnegan. But he always had Hashirama cells, so that's correct. And he also used it when he was like a child, when he first what was the white mask? The very not remarkable white Zetsu that he fused with for
Uh,
the body.
Guru
You know who
Guru,
I'm
isn't
talking
it?
about? Guru Guru. Yeah, when he wore Guru Guru as an armor, he activated the Hashirama like deep forest emergence when he killed all the Blood Mist village. And he did that when he was like 15 years old. So he's definitely had wood release his entire life, at least as long as it's been surgically grafted onto his body. Uh, anyway, we can
No
continue.
worries.
And his base Sharingan in general allows him to copy techniques, but this is for Naruto stuff specifically. Also, the big catch is that he can't be intangible forever. There's a 5-minute limit on continuous phasing, like using that for like the whole time, 5 minutes straight. But for the most part, he can use it like 99% of the times by turning on, turning off, turning on, turning off. And another issue is that while he wants to attack, he'll have to solidify to be able to do so. Now, what matters in this fight, I think, mainly is the combo intangibility, as most attacks won't hit him, touch him at all, and can warp people away that, oh, I'm not trying to deal with this. It's sort of like Funny Valentine. Well, next we got Itachi Uchiha with his Mangankyo Sharingan. We have 3 signature abilities, I'm pretty sure. We have Tsukuyomi, and that traps the targets in a genjutsu dimension where he controls time, space, and perception. It's like he has control of Inception, the movie. 1 second in reality can feel like 72 hours of torture. It can even go to months. He can make you age so fast mentally and die naturally, all that. Amaterasu creates black flames that cannot be extinguished by any normal means. Itachi has to be the one to turn it off. He also has a Susanoo. That is like an energy warrior. It's like a giant stand almost. And he has that for defense and offense. Now, his Susanoo itself has 2 weapons, important weapons. It has the Yatamir, which is a shield that reflects all the attacks in Naruto, and then you have the Totsuka Blade, which seals anything pierces in a Genjutsu dimension permanently. About the Yatamir, it can change its typing to whatever the heck typing it has to be avoiding. It can make itself big, it can make itself small, but it's not omnidirectional. It has to be used as a shield. Same thing with the Totsuka Blade. It's not just a sword that you commanded and then it seals stuff. It has to pierce for it to work. He also has his base Sharingan, Genjutsu stuff, precognition, copying techniques, etc., etc. It's all great for Itachi because he's a genius and he has perfect analysis. We also have his weaknesses. He has a chronic terminal illness that limits his stamina. Every use of his Mangenkyo abilities drain him and they accelerate his blindness. I think extended fights in general will favor his opponents. What truly matters in this fight for Itachi, Tsukuyomi, it's instant mental destruction with eye contact. Totsuka Blade seals everything. Yatamir is amazing. And these are 3 separate like instant win conditions, but they all require either eye contact or landing a hit. It's not something that can be used indefinitely. Next, we have Kisame Hoshigaki. He has some of the largest chakra reserves comparable to a tailed beast on his own. He has Samehada. It's a living weapon that shaves, it's not cutting or piercing and all that, but I think you can't do it if he hits you hard enough. He can fuse the Samehada to become this shark-human hybrid, which I'm surprised that he's not already, but let's get that out of the way. It's not important. Primary combat, he has water-style stuff. He creates water, a bunch of water, a whole bunch of water. He has water prison, water shark bomb jutsu. He does all types of water things. The thing that I would say makes Kisame the most, not important, but just like a huge focus, is his water dome, where he can create a giant sphere of water that takes up such an extremely large battlefield. He fills it like as much as like a small, not small, it's like a lake. It's like a huge bubble worth of water and lake and all that, and he
So he's not saying anything wrong, but I stopped at 7 minutes and 4 seconds. Do you think I can make the really shitty argument of like he's bringing this wall of water towards Funny Valentine, and because Funny Valentine has the flag, he's technically going to be stuck between the water wall and the flag, so he's going to be able to phase through it.
No, we'll talk about that when we get to it, you schmuck. Yeah.
perfect.
No, trust me. This is why, like, I don't know if we need to go over all of this, but like, we're making good time. We're actually making better time than the previous video. Let's go.
Ability in that water because he's a shark guy. Past that, I don't know. The JoJo characters don't really use chakras, so I think in general he's really cool, but I don't got anything else for him. Next we have Sasori, who is a puppet master. Now, okay, just a quick thing. Presidents in Naruto usually have to be like strong-ass characters. Like they're Hokages, Raikages, Kazekage. They usually have to be strong-ass people. So Sasori on his own controls the 3rd Kazekage puppet, and he's able to use iron sand abilities through like magnetic manipulation. He can create weapons, shields, projectiles, all of that, and he can also coat it in poison because he's really good with poison. He can create poisons that just kill you to death. It's strong. It's like his most important thing, surprisingly. We also have his 100 puppets. It's like Red's secret technique, 100 puppets, whatever. He has 100 puppets. Each one of them is an op that he's killed and turned into a puppet. They have all types of abilities, weapons, everything. They also all have poison. You can't get cut. You will die. That's just with a single scratch. If you for real get hit, you're dead. What matters in this fight, bro? It's 100 puppets. It's 100 puppets, and they all got poison. The poison kill you. You can't touch the poison. I think that's pretty straightforward. You can also like mess up Sasori's a body, but if you're not hitting his weakness specifically, like his heart, a lot of that won't matter because it's just like, oh, this is wood, bro. I can just, there's other wood out there. Next, we have Kakuzu. Kakuzu is like a really strong zombie who has the hearts of the benders from Avatar, and he just has 5 in total. And it's just like, okay, if I lose my fire heart, I'll go find another one, you know, or just like, hey, like I'm just trying to stack it up. Like he loves variety, and if he loses one, he can get another by killing a person and taking their heart. That's basically it. He's also lived a long time. Like he's a zombie kind of guy. He's lived a long time. He has a lot of battle prowess. He survived fighting the first Hokage, which is like a top 5 character in Naruto to Naruto Shippuden. I think that's about it. I'm not gonna lie. That seems like a pretty straightforward explanation of what Kakuzu does. Deidara has explosive clay. He molds them into all types of things. It's like small clay, big clay, bigger clay, biggest clay. But then there's also intensities. Oh, maybe the small clay can be really strong and yada yada yada. It's all chakra. The range of stuff is C1 small precision bombs and animal shaped ones. C2 giant dragon, throws other bombs. C3 huge, levels out the entire village. It's over. C4 is microscopic bombs that, you know, if the target does have them in his body, like, oh, I've inhaled it, they detonate at a cellular level. C0 though, that's a suicide technique, and he has to turn himself into a bomb with like 10-kilometer range. He flies on his clay birds and dragon and all that. He has consistent aerial advantage. He has scouting claim because they can kind of act on their own in a way. It works. And what matters in the fight, I think mainly it's that he can just fly and just keep himself away from things. I think that's like very advantageous for the Akatsuki against these JoJo characters. Conan transforms her body into paper. She can become all types of paper weapons, has paper clones, flies with paper wings, paper shuriken, can just suffocate you with so much paper. I don't want to talk about her prep. She had this moment where she had hella prep and she almost smoked Obito. I'm giving her full credit on that because she was strong as heck for that. It did take a bit though. What matters in the fight, without prep time, I don't know, just throwing paper stuff, flies, reconnaissance. She doesn't really have insta-kill options.
So I just paused it at 11 minutes for Conan. The problem with Conan is that unless you play Storm Generations and you know that she was the one who beat Sasori and recruited Sasori for the Akatsuki, she's kind of fateless outside of like being able to do like kind of well against Obito.
Yeah, and that's mostly because she has her own version of Cowboy called the Shigekami Jutsu, where she turns her entire body. So good luck trying to hit her. It's like, it's kind of just like the way she uses her jutsu that makes it really hard to touch her.
She has the
But like
potential.
that's
She has the potential to be a really interesting fighter and an interesting character, but you just don't know what she can do unless you again go into like Storm Generations and you know that she was the one who beat Sasori and recruited him.
yeah.
Continuing.
But I think that she's in general an extremely smart character. Lastly, we have Hidan. This guy, I don't know, man. He can't die from regular stuff. Nothing really kills him. He feels the pain, but he just survives regardless. He has a blood ritual. He has to draw your blood, ingest it, then draw a circle, and he's like, oh, I'm a voodoo doll. That's if he can get blood, to be fair. And I just don't think Hidan is really that much of a factor. I don't think he's getting the opportunity for it. If someone else is doing it, then it can get to him. And I think the Akatsuki do have pretty good teamwork, but for the most part, I think they're not going to prioritize Hidan. They didn't prioritize him even in the show. So, I don't know. Zetsu, I'm just throwing Zetsu out the window. This guy's an up. All right. I think we covered pretty much everything. So, in a head-to-head, speed versus speed, the JoJo characters have stuff like, okay, light speed reaction, yada, 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 right? Light speed, combat speed. Great. But the Akatsuki members, say there's a whole bunch of relative stuff. Say that the JoJo characters do outspeed them and everything. They are fast on land in general, though. They have fast, like, travel speed. So, I think that they have enough to, like, keep away from them and play the long-range game in general. And they also have the artillery for it. So, in the speed category, yeah, true. Maybe stuff is different when they're hella close, but maybe they don't really have to be that close. For durability, you can't hit the stands. That's just a note for all parties involved. The JoJo characters, they don't have a chakra system that isn't related to that, so I think that's out the window too. But after all this, after all the general stuff, now we focus on how does this work against the characters specifically. So the first person who I think probably suffers the most is Dio from Phantom Blood, as he has,
So, as far as what he claimed there, JoJo's characters, even the top tiers, for the most part, don't have the physical attack strength to destroy those top tiers. I don't think that's really true. So we're actually given direct statements in part 2 as to how strong the stone vampire mask gives you. We're given like a direct statement, like how powerful it makes you when you become changed by the stone mask. I believe I actually sent this to Kyle, so I'm gonna go up there and
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like a
grab it.
Like a 3 or 6 times.
It was a explicitly like specific amount of force. Here. So they say in part 2, because this is information that is gathered from the Nazis when they were currently moving across Europe, and they had captured some of the stone masks, and they were in the process of researching the Pillarmen. Said according to Speedwagon, because Speedwagon was also being employed at the time, Humans who wear the stone mask have their jumping ability increased to 5/8 meters. Their punching power goes to 2,000 to 4,000 kilograms per centimeter squared, and their leg strength increases threefold. So the difference between like 2,000 kilograms and like 2,000 kilograms per centimeter squared is that you're basically when you do force calculations, you're mostly supposed to do it per square meter because that's like the default surface area. Which if you put it out there, the kilogram amount would be like less than that of a ton, but even if you put it in like a meter, it'd be around like 2 tons. If you take 2,000 to 4,000 kilograms, which is 2 to 4 tons of force, and put it into 2 centimeters, it basically comes out to about like 40,000 something like tons, which is roughly like town level. So to put that in perspective, that's the of like Datara C3 in comparison. That's just like
Vampire generation. He has
Mangler,
extremely.
sorry. I'll get you to repeat that. You just cut out for a second.
Oh, okay, all right. So if you take 2,000 to 4,000 kilograms per centimeter squared, and you were to convert that into tons per square meter, that would be about 20,000 to 40,000 tons per square meter, which is roughly town level, somewhere in the, I think, like dozens of kilotons. That's roughly the same amount of firepower that Data would be using to blow up the Sand Village with the C3. So that is the physical strength of the stone mass vampires with their hands. Like that's just their fingers. That's not like their full force in their entire body. So Cars would be way stronger than that since he's a pillarman. And even Santana, who was like starved and like dehydrated and left in the wall for like thousands of years, he was stronger than the vampire they sent in. He just absorbed him immediately. Cars was stronger than Santana. They pointed out way out of there, and that was before Cars became the ultimate being.
Well, they also point out that Santana was the weakest of the Pillar Men.
Yes. So Cars makes it a point as well, because people kind of forget about this, that the stands, or no, not the stands, that Hamon is basically a step towards evolving human beings to a higher species. That is what it is considered. Like, that's the reason why it can damage things like vampires. It's not just that it has enough, like, it has the powers of the sun. Hamon has enough force to actually damage their bodies. It is confirmed in part 7 that Hamon and things like the steel balls are actually abilities that evolve humans towards Carl statement 2. It is officially confirmed in the beginning of part 7.
Sorry.
What this
you
means
just
is
cut out
that
again.
practically any stand and well, okay, I'm sorry. What did I say?
You just cut out again.
What did I need to say?
You were talking about how Hamon evolves you into a higher level of human.
There we go. Okay, that should be better now, right? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Am I cutting out now or no?
Not now.
Okay. So where did I leave off on?
You're talking about how Hamon makes humans into it was gonna turn them
An evolved
into
species.
a more evolved species, yes.
Yes, Hamon, according to Cars, is the mark of humans being an evolved species. It evolves them further in their evolution and makes them a more powerful human. This is corroborated in the story because ordinarily in the first series, when they had to fight vampires, they were not physically strong enough to fight vampires without the Hamon. They needed Hamon to redirect the energy through their bodies in order to be able to fist fight with the vampires. And when they fought the Pillarmen, they could not kill them with normal Hamon. They actually had to train their Hamon under a Hamon master to become even stronger after, like, Joseph had already gotten it. They had to make his Hamon, like, way stronger in order to fight them, and Lisa is also stated to have 3 times the amount of Hamon that he has. When Cars sees it, he acknowledges that this is a mark of, like, a evolved species. Part 7 confirms that what Cars said was correct, because it says that Hamon, or the Ripple, and the steel balls from part 7 that Zora uses, those are abilities that humans may gain in order to uh, reach a stand. They are basically evolutionary traits that humans develop in order to evolve themselves enough to reach the level of a stand. Which the stands themselves are already a form of evolution because they are treated as like an alien virus that enters your system, and most people who touch the stand arrows die. Only the truly strong humans who can survive the evolution can awaken stands. So both narratively and scientifically, if you have a stand, it should be superior to any feat with hormones. Unless, of course, the stand is specifically confirmed to be like really weak physically, like Survivor, or like an inanimate one. But your average stands with fighting power should be superior to any feats hormone can do. Just putting that in perspective, everything that I mentioned about the tensile strength, about the like the town level stuff that a vampire could do with that amount of force, that's only in reference to like Dio and the Stone Vampires. The Pillarmen are way stronger than that. So they would upscale within the town to like city level range. And Cars has feats of surviving the volcano. So like
That
that would basically mean their physical durability is closer to like the strongest bombs Data has ever detonated.
I'm pretty sure
Uh,
in part two's manga, it stated that the explosion rivaled that of the Saint Helena explosion,
it is.
and that was
It
like
is. And
several megatons, and both Joseph and Cars survived being in that explosion, which would be like around mountain level. Um,
it's also pointed out that the redstone of Akaja is the one that did this, and the redstone of Akaja was the fuel source that was needed to power up the stone mask so that it could penetrate Kars' skull and evolve him into the ultimate being.
well,
So he would scale to it because he used that energy source to evolve himself.
it's not even just that. It's like Cars can also get some strangely disgusting scaling later on if you take George Joestar as legitimate use of what Cars can actually do as well. We're not hampered by the story.
It's if you wanna use what's just in part 2, Cars specifically states that when he becomes the ultimate being and he gets Hamon, his Hamon is 100 times more powerful than Joseph's. And Joseph's has gotten stronger than the normal Pillarman at this point. So he's literally multiple orders of magnitude above the rest of them. So Cars at his most conservative is still somewhere in the city level range. Now to be clear, I do think like the JoJo characters physically, they're still humans in terms of their durability. You can kill them with guns and knives and things like that. But the amount of force that their stands can output when they hit you and what their stands are capable of tanking should be comparable, if not greater, than Hamon. Because they also point out that Hamon can't hurt a stand. Not really. It can interact with a stand, but it cannot truly harm a stand because it isn't strong enough.
And also, hormone is the first step into achieving a stand.
Yeah, it's basically like comparing first form cell to second form cell. It is the pre-evolved, unadaptable version. The stand is the final form, and that's assuming the stand itself doesn't evolve again because stands can also evolve.
That's also assuming that like you don't try and make the argument that hormone and the spin from part 7 are basically the exact same thing. It's just that one shows what else it can
They
do
are.
when it's not forced to be used.
Well, that's what part 7 confirms. They are. They're both the same kind of ability in the same category. They do the same thing. They evolve humans. It's just there is no hormone in the part 7 universe. There are steel balls. Or more accurately, it's rotation is what they have. Instead of it being the ripple, it's rotational energy. I just bring this up for anyone watching the video because it says on the video JoJo's characters, even the top tiers, don't have, for the most part, don't have the physical attack strength to destroy these top tiers. I think if someone is strong enough to tank Datara's C3 bomb, they're definitely like or if their main force of attack is capable of outputting that kind of attack potency, they're definitely capable of destroying them.
It
That's
wouldn't
also
even,
if you
it
buy the
wouldn't even matter
position that
anyway.
like Naruto characters are that durable. Oh, go ahead.
Or it wouldn't even really matter looking at durability, because a common ability that all stands have that people seem to forget that they just have is the fact that they can phase through the body. They can ignore durability.
Yeah, I kind of forget that because it's not really all
Well,
that
because it's only
relevant
ever
when
ever
two
applicable.
stands are.
Because it's only ever applicable like twice in part 3 and never mentioned ever again.
Yeah, well, because you see Star Platinum do a bunch of stuff at the beginning of Part 3, but it's never relevant because stands are always fighting each other, so they're able to interact with each other because they're stands. But I'll explain that more later.
Yeah, because
Anyway,
it's
he
like
continue. So
it's like remembering that like they can change the size of a stand to be microscopic if they want to. It's just that it's only ever shown once and it's never been story applicable ever again.
mm,
I'm currently at 13 minutes and 5 seconds.
heard. You can continue.
Asta, combat speed, Space Ripper, Stingy Eyes, Flash Freeze, and I think that's it. I think we're done, actually. As he is not someone who is a stand user and he doesn't have like the cool stuff that Cars does, he's probably the weakest in general. There's no time stop. He's not necessarily weak to fire, but he's weak to Hamon. But fire in general, like I think any attack potency that the Akatsuki are capable of for the most part will most likely be able to do the job. But yeah, he also has no stops against Genjutsu or Soul Extraction or Sealing. If I have to pinpoint.
So the biggest problem that he's negated so far that he forgets that Dio has is Dio in part 1. He also has it in part 3 but never shows it. He can just straight up hypnotize you like he did to Jack the Ripper. He has hypnotism.
Saying he doesn't have the durability to fight most of the higher end members of the Akatsuki, that's not really true. Datara has the best AP feats out of any members of the Akatsuki. Like Shibaku Tensei has nothing on the C3 or the C0. It is definitively the best destructive capacity feat they produced. So like he's already produced that. Not having time stop is not really like a weakness. Not really. I mean, I guess it's a detriment. Lack of Genjutsu protection, he doesn't really have a lack of Genjutsu protection because Genjutsu requires a chakra network to function effectively. You have to send chakra into someone's chakra network as a receiver in order to activate it. That's why, like, you need a specific type of Genjutsu that doesn't require a chakra network, but there's only, like, very specific ones that work that way. Like
the way I look at Genjutsu...
Third Mizukage.
The way I look at Genjutsu, if it's ocular or auditorial, that should work. If it's regular, it shouldn't work outside of this.
No, it's explained that all Genjutsu, even ocular, require a chakra network.
Yeah, but the problem is that you're still injecting somebody with your chakra, so it's gonna do something, even if it doesn't work. This is not gonna be one of these times. We'll discuss this later. We'll not do this fight on the video. Otherwise, this is not a fight. I'm clarifying for you. The way the Genjutsu works is that it works off of a vector system. You're sending energy into someone's veins or their body. Yes, but you're also telling me that if I inject this foreign substance power into you, that's going to do nothing. I don't believe that. I don't think it'll work as effectively. I just don't think it will do nothing.
If I send a random substance into your body,
it should do something, but especially if it's in my head.
It's not gonna do the intended effect at all because Genjutsu has to be sent to your brain. The reason it gets traveled to your brain is because you send it into a chakra network. If you don't have that chakra network, it's not gonna go to your brain. It's gonna go to a random part of your body and do nothing. Because it's random. It's just mental and physical energy that's been combined into like a centralized form. So, like, we would have to prove what it would actually do if it was sent into a body without a chakra network.
Well, the thing is that, like, we know that it can put things into a Genjutsu that don't have a chakra network. It's put dinosaurs into...
I actually watched, I read that manga for that, and I also read the Boruto manga. What they actually confirm is that every person, not just on the planet, but in every planet in the Naruto universe has chakra. Because chakra is just stamina, which is mental and physical energy that has been mined into a specific form. And the dinosaur, which was also brought back by those characters in that prison sort of arc for Sasuke, they were actually brought back by a jutsu similar to Edo Tensei. So they were connected to someone else's chakra. Though it is worth noting that when Sasuke actually, it didn't work times. So he actually used the Sharingan on him both times. It did not work. The last time, what it took for him to actually activate the chakra is that he had to stick his hand inside the dinosaur's mouth, grab its tongue, and inject the chakra into its like organs directly. And only then, while he was looking at it in the eye, while he was making physical contact with the organs, did it start affecting him.
Yeah,
and I don't have any reason to believe
so
that dinosaur wouldn't have.
So I'm right. It just needs either a large amount, or you need to pour so much into it that's not even going to be effective.
You're wrong. That dinosaur still has.
I'm not having this argument with you now. Let's continue.
Who in specific he's beating, he's definitely beating Hidan. After that, I think it does largely depend on how exactly is he going about it, because someone who's considered as a jobber like Kakuzu is an extremely strong ninja. You know, like I think that gets like misconstrued in the power scaling world because Kakuzu isn't a top 5 character, but he is capable of a lot, and I think lasting in general throughout the fight is something that he would be able to do against this version of Dio. I think that, you know, he's going to lose against Tsukiyomi. Amaterasu loses to the pain because there's 6 of them and they can definitely do the job. Obito, etc., etc., etc.
So I just paused it at 14:26. He's not losing to Amaterasu because Amaterasu would never hit Dio. Dio in part 1 is as fast as Dio in part 3.
I also don't know why he doesn't. He's bringing Kakuzu, like he didn't really bring this up when he brought up like this, because like
hold on, Mangler.
Originally,
Mangler, disconnect and reconnect. You're breaking up again.
Oh no. So the when he originally brought up the Akatsuki members, and he started out with Pain and Itachi and Obito, he brought up a lot of their weaknesses, of the limitations of their techniques. He didn't really bring up the fact that like Kakuzu, when he loses the body, he can't use that body for like, he kind of has the same weakness that Pain does as a Pain. When he loses that heart, he loses those abilities for the rest of the fight. I feel like Dio is going to be smart enough to recognize that when he decides to down one of the hearts. Because JoJo's characters are specifically known for their incredible level of intellect and their ability to think on the fly, especially like Joseph and like Cars. Yeah, but as far as saying like, what else did he claim?
Well, he already acknowledges that JoJo's have massively faster than light reaction, so Amaterasu would never hit Dio even in part 1.
If we're gonna go by Tsukiyomi, I've already explained why that wouldn't work. But if we really want to talk about like Itachi using it, Itachi in character does not use Tsukiyomi. So it's actually explained in the light novels that if he uses Tsukiyomi, that takes an enormous amount of chakra. That's actually one of the reasons why he's dying in the main setting, because he constantly kept using his Sharingan all the time. Even having it out or having his eyes open drains his chakra significantly. As far as him trapping you in places for months to years, that's actually only one thing that he did one time against his girlfriend in the light novel on the time of the Uchiha clan massacre. And when he made her live out her entire life in like a picosecond, that actually did a massive strain on his body to the point where it almost caused him like a heart attack. He was like in a terrible state after he did that. He only has ever put like people in there for a couple days, mainly, like usually days, and that's not that crazy for a JoJo's character. JoJo's characters have pretty extensive like mental and physical resistance.
Well, it's not even that. It's
especially
also the fact
Dio.
that like, they have disgusting amounts of like pain tolerance too.
Well, so the thing about Tsukiyomi is that Tsukiyomi would be better if you were actually creating like a reality for like everyone to be entrapped in like a physical illusion, not inside of the mind. because then you'd be able to do something with the illusion. If a person has enough mental fortitude to survive whatever illusion you put in there, you basically just burned an enormous amount of stamina, trapping them in an area that's not really going to do anything to them. Because once they realize, oh, that was an illusion, which they're going to realize the moment you put them in there, they just have to survive it. And because of how fast it is, none of the other characters, like because Itachi's focused on you, he can't blitz you while he's doing Tsukiyomi. He has to stand there and participate in the genjutsu, and neither can any of the other characters because Tsukiyomi happens so fast, no one can react to it. So yeah, it's not like yes, it's something he could do, but I would not count it as something that Itachi would use in character. Maybe as a last resort, but he would never like lead with Tsukiyomi. It'd be like saying that Pain would just walk up and just be like Chibaku Tensei. Like why? Why would he? Why would he just Chibaku Tensei a guy he decided to fight? Like that's an enormous amount of power. I'm gonna create a small move to fight this random dude I ran into. Um, okay, so I guess he's going to Yoshikage Kira next.
So Dio Brando on his own? No, probably nothing. Now for Yoshikage Kira, he has durability negation because anything he touches becomes a bomb. He has faster than light stand speed. He has sheer heart attack, which is indestructible, heat-seeking bomb. He could have bites the dust. I usually don't give him bites the dust because it is such a specific ability for it to get off. But I think it can work when he's working with someone like Funny Valentine. Putting that to the side, his main problems are his own durability.
Okay, so that's a little weird. So it's not a matter of whether you give him bites the dust. You're using end of part 4 Kira, you have to give him bites the dust. It's his stand ability. It's the evolved version of his stand, so he
Bites
gets
the Dust
it.
does two things,
Yeah.
and you would only know that it does the second thing if you've played Eyes of Heaven, which is it can either launch Yoshikage Kira an hour before the bomb goes off, or it can launch him an hour forward. But either way, the opponent is caught in a causality where they can't escape from because now they're predetermined to die.
Yeah, all you need to know is that if you're pursuing Kira with the intent to like take out Yoshikage Kira, like the specific guy Yoshikage Kira, like you can technically fight him and not know who he is. But if you do know who he is and you're trying to like ruin his life or do something bad to him, then that will activate Bites the Dust. And you get blown back an hour.
He can also be an asshole and activate it even inadvertently because he can tell you who he is and that would match the conditions for Bites the Dust.
It's like Wonder Review if it actually did something effective 90% of the time instead of requiring you to like go in this like very specific step-by-step process to attack the Doctor.
Yeah.
It also blows up the entire universe in the process. So like because it's blowing away the timeline and blowing it back to an hour, you would not only like not know what's happening, you have no perception or no evidence to indicate what happened.
And because you've been blown up before, if he goes back an hour in time, he doesn't need to interact with you. He can avoid you, and whatever time you got killed in the previous timeline, you are now predestined to die at that exact same time.
He could also just because he knows where you're gonna be, he could, since he's an hour ahead, he could just go to the location and touch an object that he knows you're gonna touch, or an object in the area, and just touch a lot of those, turn those into bombs, and then just detonate them. So he can kill you multiple ways, but yeah.
I think Kira is one of those villains that I think power scalers and people who put him in versus matchups, they don't give him the respect that he deserves because he is a pain in the ass to fight, especially if he's petty and has his full arsenal like Stray Cat and everything as well.
I don't think putting a lack of Genjutsu protection makes sense here, regardless of how you feel about Genjutsu, because only Itachi is really using Genjutsu. Like the rest of the Akatsuki don't like Datara doesn't come up to you and put you under Genjutsu. He throws bombs at you. Sasori throws his puppets at you. Kisame throws water style at you. Most of these characters don't use Genjutsu. Also, why does he keep listing time stop as a weakness? Like, doesn't have time stop. Like, that's not a weakness. What?
He doesn't have to.
Wait a minute.
He has inadvertent time skip.
No. I thought he put that in there originally because Dio had it, and I was like, oh, he just means like this version of Dio doesn't have time stop. Like, that's not really a real weakness, but I can understand why you put that. Like, why would you put it there for Yoshikage Kira? That's a completely different person. He never had a time stop ability. Like a better weakness to mention here would be just the short range of the stand, because Killer Queen can only reach up to like 3 or 4 meters,
It's
somewhere around there.
It's the same length as Star Platinum, so pretty much like 1 or 2 meters.
Yep. They always have a very specific length. They're close range. That is the biggest weakness of the stands, is that they are extremely devastating and fast and powerful, but they only have like a very small range.
So as I said at the beginning, where it's like these are not exactly characters you want to be physically touching. Kira is one of those characters you definitely don't want to be physically touching, because he can overlay Killer Queen on top of himself, and whatever he touches, he can blow up in an instant. He's done this multiple times and shown that he's done it.
Yeah. Let's continue. Let's see what he has
Also,
to say.
Just in case anyone tries to bring up that Pain could bring back any of the Akatsuki with the King of Hell, no, because Killer Queen destroys the soul as well. There is nothing to bring back.
Got his paper mache. Not even that, actually, because there's no evidence left behind at all.
Yeah, he destroys your body and your soul.
Yeah, it's just deconstruction, really. That's all it does. It's just so complete, it gets rid of anything. Because the whole point of it is to destroy the evidence.
Alright, continuing.
Can't fly. He has limited range, as his stand is a close combat stand. Separate. Well, if we consider sheer heart attack, it's different. But for the most part, yeah, it's kind of messed up. And he should, as an individual, lose to most of the people. Like, losing to Datara because Datara could just stay in the sky and drop bombs.
I disagree with Datara. Datara only ever stayed in the sky when he fought Sasuke, because he thought he knew how Sasuke's abilities work. He only fought Gaara like that because he was aware of how Gaara fights. A lot of the times whenever he fights in the air, it's because he predeterminedly knows how an opponent fights.
I think it is something worth mentioning, though, that he'd probably try to camp him. I'm just pointing out that what I would point out is like that's not a factor that matters, because we're talking about like a team fight against every JoJo's.
It's not a factor that matters, especially when Kira will probably just introduce himself to begin with, because he's not somebody who enjoys fighting. And after getting like bites to dust, he will just inadvertently tell you who he is to begin with, just to arm the bomb, because he's shown to do this during the final fight with Josuke.
Yeah. Anyway.
Perfectly fine.
Wait. If he can't beat Datara, who can he beat?
Someone like
I want to
Sasuke.
know what this guy thinks.
Where, heck, Killer Queen can probably blow up a whole bunch of the puppets and stuff, but there is no heat. And for the most part, Iron Sand style like that could just drop a huge block on him, and he wouldn't really be able to do much about it. Like, getting away from it is one thing, but like, I don't know, it's just so much to take on at once. But I think someone like Kakuzu, he could actually get it over him just off the weight of Kakuzu not expecting something, right? Because sheer heart attack, blow him up, perfectly fine.
So this is a perfect example of somebody who looks at Kira and doesn't understand how disgusting he is if he was to fight in character. You're looking at this as if the other side is going to fight him as if they already know that he has a short range attack stand. One, they wouldn't even be able to see the stands to begin with. Second, he will just start the fight off by just introducing himself and just preemptively arming all of the Akatsuki with bites to dust.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Why would you assume he could damage? So I guess he's assuming he can damage Kakuzu, but like, presumably they're not going to be standing like 10 or 15 meters away from each other. They're going to be standing like at least a field's distance away, right? They're not going to be standing right in front of each other. So unless Datara immediately summons the bird and just gets on the bird to fight all these random schmucks that they just ran into, he should be able to hit Datara too.
Well, it's also like
Like I don't know what
well,
Kakazu's doing that would make him like more vulnerable.
well, let's go through his Sasori point, because he's like, oh, Sasori would either use the third Kazukage or he would use the 100 puppets. No, he wouldn't. He would have no reason to use it. He used the 100 puppets because he was trying to basically have a dick measuring contest with his grandmother, and he only ever used the third Kazukage because Sakura forced him out of the Hiriko puppet. Otherwise, he would just fight with the Hiriko puppet.
So I would say Sasori is probably your best argument for the Akatsuki being able to kill anybody, just because he has area of effect poison. So it's possible for him to spray an entire area with his deadly poison, even if it doesn't kill them immediately, which he acknowledges it still takes several days to kill them. It could still paralyze them. That's about the best argument you have for them being able to affect Kira. Because again, if Kira does that, or if Kira just has sheer heart attack and just sends sheer heart attack in there, sheer heart attack could take care of them by itself.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Continuing.
I think beating out Hidan perfectly fine, and neither of them can really block anything. Like the durability is negated, and I think it does depend against Konan because Konan has the advantage in the sky. But if there was ever a time that people do get close to Kira Yoshikage, then yeah, I would say it's a lot different. Next in the fight, we have Diavolo, who has King Crimson and his Epitaph. So he has 10 seconds of precognition, and he can time skip to erase the cause and never get to the effect. And he's intangible throughout this. He's extremely fast. He's extremely strong. He's still a human. Still not as durable as the Naruto characters. He isn't able to attack during the time skip, just like how Obito has it with Kamui. But
Okay, so let's get this misconception out of the way. Can't attack during the time skip. That's not true. That's never stated that he can't take actions. He just likes to get behind people. But when he fought Bruno, he does kill him within the skip time.
Well,
It's at the very
also
end of the
would
skip time, but he does kill him before the time skip is over.
it really wouldn't matter because he's hitting you at such an incredibly high speed after time is erased that there is no difference in time after the time skip is ended. So from your perspective, there's just now a gap in time. You don't know what happens, and you just got speed blitzed. You don't even understand. You aren't even able to perceive it. And I think that he describes it as a what time erasure is a get out of jail free card. That's kind of pretty devastating against the six paths because the six paths rely on the position that you need to be able to see someone within your field of vision. How can you detect something within your field of vision if I've erased your perception of time by like just getting rid of time itself, or at least 10 seconds of it? Like it's it's kind of difficult for you to see me if you don't know where I am.
Well, it's also kind of hard for you to get the drop on me when I know where you are at all times with Epitaph.
Yeah, that too. I've always said that like King Crimson would be enough. I never consider Epitaph when using Diavolo because one, I often forget he has it, and two, I figured that King Crimson is so strong by itself, he has never needed it. But then when you consider Epitaph, it's like, oh yeah, that's like solid, consistent W's.
Yeah, it just happens to be an ability that goes hand in hand with what he needs, because he can see what attack is coming and what he needs to skip.
Okay, let's see what else he has to say.
I would say that he's more inclined to have something against the other characters compared to someone like Kira and Dio Brando, because say that they're at like a normal range, I think Diavolo has the ability to just skip, and put himself in the best possible situation. The issue is matchup wise, who is he going against, right? So I think he'll lose to Datara because flight, loses to Kisame because if
Loses to Datara because flight. You're assuming Datara is starting the fight in the air. He would be starting the fight on the ground, and as soon as he goes to use his clay, Diavolo starts fights by using Epitaph to see what's going to happen. He'll see him take to the sky, so his first priority will be to take out Datara.
Or the first thing he's gonna see, because realistically, Data is not gonna go into the flight within the first minute or so, because they don't know anything about them. As you claimed, both of these factions don't know anything about them. So Data just thinks he's looking at a bunch of random weirdos with strange clothes. They don't. They just think they're ordinary people. So he would not go into the air. He would just start bombing them with like the standard C1 bombs and like the little
The little
what's
spiders,
it
the
called?
little snakes, the little birds.
Yeah, the snakes and like the little clay golems, because that's what he did when he fought Sasuke. When he fought Sasuke the first time, he actually did the first part of the fight on the ground. He
So
pumped little clay little tubes into the bodies and controlled them like he had a gaming controller.
So
And they fought Sasuke.
what people seem to tend to forget when they say like, "Oh, Datara can fly," is that the reason why Datara flies is because he's usually teamed up with Toby, and that they have a combination technique where he gives Toby clay mines to put into the ground to surround the opponent. Otherwise, he has no reason to go into the air.
Or it's in a position where he has a clear disadvantage, but he would
Mangler, you
have
just
no reason to do that because he just
cut it
ran
out
into these
majorly.
people, and he's also I love this Discord thing so much. But he would have no reason to do that because one, he's not in disadvantage. The fight has just begun. Two, if he's initiating the attack, why wouldn't he just throw a bunch of clay bombs at them? He's going to presume they don't know that they're bombs, and he's correct. Except Diavolo is going to know that they're bombs because Diavolo is going to see the future and is going to see them explode. And then he'll be like, okay, we need to move. And then he'll either take him out or he'll just move the other characters out of the way. And after that point, Diavolo's got a hard focus Datara and just kill him immediately. Datara is not going to realize he needs to take into the air until he's being targeted, but he's not going to know he's being targeted. He won't even understand what's going on. So, yeah, next is Kisame, I guess.
If Kisame knows that, like, oh man, the guy he hit me and like it was actually pretty like strong, because like, this is what the idea, like, oh, let's say that their physical strength and stuff is relative, but it's not exactly, not at all, no, because Naruto characters do get crazy strong in terms of attack potency, but you know, like just setting the scene, Kisame's like, oh, okay, no, well, you know, I'm gonna bubble the whole area. What are you gonna be able to do about that? Probably nothing, you know. He can drown like any other human. We also have Itachi.
Again, when Diavolo erases time, he has free movement of the space for 10 seconds. So even if he traps him in water, he'll just erase time and then move towards Kisame and then just like phase like King Crimson through him and rip out his heart or rip out his lungs or do something. Like the problem is that like people tend to forget that like everything gets erased. He's not erasing just the cause and effect. He's erasing the entirety of the universe.
Yes, that's why there's a gap whenever it activates. It's like everything around them. Like when it's activated the first time against Bucciarati, the rest of Pashon's group, the rest of like Bucciarati's group, they're standing outside, and then they have a gap, and then now they've moved. Like 5 seconds, they're like, "What just happened?" Like they are visibly shaken by the fact that their physical bodies have moved, even though they know for a fact they didn't move, and they all acknowledge something went wrong. They had no clue what happened in that interim, but they know a fraction of time has been lost. They didn't even know there was a stand nearby. They just assumed that was weird as fuck what just happened there. Something is wrong.
Yeah, and there was a moment where, like, at the very end in the Colosseum, this is how he kills Narancia, because a flicker happens. They only know something has happened because of the blood splatter technique that they have on their hand, and then that's when they realize that Narancia is dead.
Yeah. So Kisame would know that, because why would he assume? So to put this in perspective, why would Kisame walk up to this Diavolo-looking guy and just water bubble the entire area? First of all, that wouldn't work for the reasons that Balrog just said. Second of all, why would he assume the guy has this subatomic spiritual body thing that he can't see that can rip out his soul and erase the entire universe for 10 seconds in addition to seeing the future, to the point where he realizes the bubble is the only thing he can do to protect himself? because there's no other reason that he'd have to activate the bubble. And to be clear, if he thought that, why would he activate the bubble in the first place? Like it would make the difference. There's nothing Kisame can do to protect himself.
Kisame only did that bubble technique that took a lot of chakra because he thought that's how he was going to be able to beat Killer B, and that technique took a lot of chakra. Secondly, like
he was also trying to capture him specifically alive, which he would not be doing in this case.
Yeah. Next, he's going to talk about Itachi using the Susanoo. Why would Itachi use the Susanoo? You make it sound like this is his go-to technique. Itachi would never use the Susanoo first. The Susanoo is always a last-ditch technique because it's a Mangekyo ability, which means it's shortening his lifespan and it's also hurting his eyes and making him go blind. If any technique he would use first, it would be the explosive shadow clone.
Or fire style, or shurikens, or literally anything, crow substitution. I didn't hear any of that when he was breaking down Itachi's abilities. He's like, he's got 3 abilities, all his Mangekyo abilities. I'm like, you mean the ones that cause him to go blind? The ones that are causing him to die in the first place? But Itachi knows that he's ill. Why would he use those?
Yeah, you mean the ones that are doing permanent damage to him, and he only resorted to doing those because he had the ulterior motive of trying to get Orochimaru out of Sasuke.
Also,
and he could have won the fight at any point, as Zetsu points out.
He also wanted to die at the hands of Sasuke, so he didn't mind using those abilities because they just brought him closer to death, which was his goal in the first place.
You can look at the fight with Sasuke, and you can be like, oh, but Itachi does this. That entire fight, he's not fighting in character. If you want to see how he fights in character, look at when he tries to kidnap Naruto the first time. Or when he fights Kakashi.
Either way, I don't
Itachi is... They both have precognition in a sense. King Crimson's is better, but it's Itachi, you know? And a glimpse of his eyes sets it off immediately, and it would mess it up. But I do think he could predict that. The issue is like, okay, so I know he's going to use his eye.
So, hang on. Is he trying to make... Is he trying to play, like, this really meta game with himself where he's trying to think, like, the Sharingan is going to predict that Epitaph is going to read his ability, and therefore he's going to read it? That's not how that works.
No, like, the Sharingan just gives you such enhanced muscle speed and, like, movement. You just see events before they're going to happen. It's increased reaction time. Like, you don't see the future the way that fucking Epitaph does.
You're not seeing 10 seconds ahead. Like, whatever Itachi tries to do, Diablo will see it long before he even tries it.
Also, if you're going to say he's going to put Tsukuyomi on him, you realize he has to look him in the eyes, right? Only Koto Amatsukami doesn't require contact. And that's still, well, actually, that one still needs to have you look at someone's eyes. They just don't have to look back at you. Like, you can look into their eyes while they're not side glancing. Itachi has to look into your eyes and make full eye contact with you.
Well,
which, to be fair, he wouldn't know about that, but he would still know that Itachi's going to do that.
Well, he wouldn't even have to. He wouldn't even have to. I didn't bring this up because I kind of forgot, but it's like, stands, it's not just GER. Stands kind of have this, like, this sub-reaction where they don't need to react based on the user. They can just inadvertently protect the user instinctively. So King Crimson could just put its hands over Diablo's eyes. And same with any of the other stands.
So the thing is that the stand is just a physical embodiment, or, well, it's a spiritual embodiment because it's a collection of subatomic particles. But it is effectively just your willpower. It is like your soul given form. It is you at your core most thing. So the reason why the stands talk to the users is because they are basically their subconscious, reminding them of what it is that they want to do. So, like, all King Crimson is going to do is try to protect Diavolo at any costs. People thought that, like, that's a thing that only GER does. Like, no, all stands function.
People seem to forget that people seem to forget what happens at the start of Stardust Crusaders. Then
They also forget that happens multiple times in Part 5 as well, because that also happens with Spice Girl and what is it? Diavol's daughter, Trish.
Doesn't Crazy Diamond have a feat of doing that too? I think
Crazy Diamond
I think it's
probably
during the
does.
rap fight, isn't it?
Most likely. I'm saying there are multiple examples of it, aside from with Star Platinum and Spice Girl, that already proves stands in general protect their user. The only difference is when you have a person that doesn't care about themselves, where their own willpower lacks like proper preservation, and they create like a really bad stand, like the one that haunted Josuke, the one that like connects to his back. I think it's you know the one I'm talking about, the one that like tries to send him to hell.
Nah, forget that. Just give them highway to hell.
Ugh. I'm just saying, unless the stand is an embodiment of someone's willpower who is severely mentally unstable or is like super suicidal and does not give a crap about them. Which, to be fair, most of these characters only care about themselves. That's the one thing they're consistent on. So their stand is absolutely going to protect them when they're in danger.
Absolutely. All right, let's see what other excuses he's got for the other members.
Nice, but like, well, what's the move after that? Like, can I hit him? And yeah, maybe in the time skip, he'd be able to get close enough to hit him, but on the fly reaction stuff, I'm not sure. I think that, let's say that Itachi isn't that fast, like Itachi's not light speed or anything like that, then I think King Crimson could get him exactly in that moment. But there's something about Naruto characters that's like, oh yeah, this turns out this was a substitution, but that is a lot reactions. Like, a lot of things are reaction based, and sometimes something is done preemptively, like, okay, this is Itachi, but it actually wasn't Itachi off top. It was a clone, and you would have to use your precognition for that. And I think it's a decent fight. I think it's a decent fight as is. Let's obviously people are like, oh my gosh, but it's
What if it's a clone? Epitaph would know. He would see if it's a substitution, and then he would see where Itachi is going to attack from. He would be able to see all of this. Epitaph
so you understand that
Epitaph is going to be literally the biggest pain in the ass to deal with out of all of these.
I was gonna say, you understand that when Itachi uses a substitution, even when he's using the crows, it's not any different from when a shinobi
Use a log or a rock.
What they're doing is that they're using a variant of the teleportation jutsu, or more accurately, a summoning jutsu. They are summoning in a physical object that they tagged, meaning they are basically taking from their something from their storage container and teleporting it to the battlefield. They cannot use the substitution over and over and over and over again. They have a limited number of times they can use that, because they're transporting an object somewhere in the world to the place where they are. So, like, when Itachi summons a bunch of those birds, he's summoning real fucking birds to where his body is. So he can't just keep summoning, like, he can't just keep substituting over and over and over again. He will run out of birds eventually. That's the reason why in the novels, when he gets attacked, he only ever uses the substitution once at a time. And then when the next person decides to attack him again, he's physically solid. It's just most times he usually takes them out after the first substitution because they're just like, what? Birds? Impossible. You know, even though they're all ninja and they know that the substitution works that way.
It always seems to catch them off guard for some reason.
It always seems to catch them off guard. Maybe it's because he used birds and he broke the golden rule of choosing to use something other than logs. They're like, impossible. I was under the impression we could only teleport logs.
Yeah, you know what would be funny? If you were just a dick and you just used a classmate.
And you teleport a random person, they're just like, what? What the hell? It's like, oh, damn it. My substitution doesn't work. I guess I ran out of people.
I'm currently at 1847. I'm continuing.
Itachi has a huge freaking sword you can cut right through it. Of course. But the setup towards it, pretty interesting, I'd say. Now, Dio Brando, the world version, which is just Dio, this guy would work really well as an anchor to the team. Because this is like, I'm talking about this stuff individually speaking, but if they're going about this group by group, even if, you know, like say this Dio isn't like our Dio, let's say Funny Valentine got like a more willing to work with the team Dio, this guy can stop time. Just off of that is great. That's amazing. He can stop time. He has his vampire regeneration, and combined with like, I don't know, people want to say that he has his phantom blood stuff. That's neither here nor there. But I want to say a lot of his matchups criminals would be based entirely on timing. Plus, the duo work, something like Dio and Kira Yoshikage, can instantly turn Kira Yoshikage from someone who's a nobody in this fight into someone who's an immediate somebody because he is able to negate their ability. Because say that Dio wasn't able to do so, and it's just like, oh, okay, I can't. He has the facilities to stop time and put Yoshikage in an advantage position where he'll be able to.
Okay, so just that, like,
I wonder if he's
20
read
minutes and 6
George
seconds.
Joestar. That's...
Why the fuck is he using Dio of the World as like this mastermind chess mover where it's just like he doesn't need to be that. Also, like, he needs to stop shitting on Kira, but it's also like, do you forget that like Dio could just like stop time and suck the blood out of all of them in like seconds and make it so that they literally can't move?
He could just shoot spaced stingy eyes or whatever out of his eyes. Like, he has the Phantom Blood abilities.
Yeah.
He could just shoot them from across the room. They have a pretty good range.
It's explicitly stated in the Over Heaven novel that Dio still has his vampiric abilities from part 1. He just doesn't use them because there's no point. They wouldn't work on stands. So what's the point in even using them against like the Stardust Crusaders?
Yeah. Well, also part 3 contradicts the position that he doesn't have the abilities, because that's how he gets the stand users. He puts flesh buds in their heads, which is a parasitic ability that he possessed from part 1.
Oh, that's right. I
forgot
about that. At any point, he could put...
That's how he gets Kakyoin.
Yeah, that's how he also tried to...
Yeah,
that's how he also tried to get Abdul. I forgot about that. It's like, at any point, he could just literally stab them with a flesh bud and just have it so, like, they have to they have to do what he says, otherwise they'll die. Or he could just be a dick and just, like, kill them at any point, as shown with, like, Enyaba.
Or he could be an even bigger dick and have them fight alongside the Akatsuki and then just stab them in the back in the middle of the fight, right when they're about to do something important.
Or, you know, use hypnosis, because, again, Naruto characters, while they do live in a verse that has hypnosis, most of them don't have resistance to hypnosis.
Well, I would say that the bigger issue is the fact that, like, too many of the Akatsuki characters have, like, massive AoE attacks. So you don't even have to say it's like a roll of the die based on who he decides to use hypnosis on or flesh buds. Most of them have abilities or things that can blow shit up. So, like, what if he hits Datara? Datara's blowing up his entire team.
No, you know what? You know what'd be funny? If Kisame tries to do that giant mobile water prison, and then Dio's just like, okay, how about if I just freeze the water?
Also, Kisame would be a massive problem if he was taken over, because he is literally designed to be the anti-chakra ninja, because he just creates a jutsu that absorbs chakra from other people. And he has a constant supply of it. So if you took him over, you would sweep most of the rest of the Akatsuki, because you just keep activating Shark Bomb jutsus and Super Shark Bomb jutsus that keep absorbing chakra. He would just outlast the rest of the Akatsuki members, and not to mention...
Or if Dio decides to take him over and, you know, tag team with him, okay, I'll paralyze them, you use Samihara to drain them of all their chakra, and I'll drain them of all their blood.
Yeah, I'll stop time in the universe for like 5 to 10 seconds, however long it is, based on what part of part 3 you want to use.
Well,
I'll just move you in front of them, you stab them.
So the problem with part 3 is that people get his time wrong. He doesn't stop time for 9 seconds. The final time, he stops time, and when Jotaro learns to stop time himself, his time gets extended to 13 seconds, and then he stops moving.
Well, yeah, because he confirms the more he stops time, the more it increases.
Yeah, it's like
that
a
if you
muscle.
keep using the ability, it keeps getting stronger.
Yeah, or it's just like, okay, he kills some of the Akatsuki. What's stopping him from putting his vampiric essence into him straight away and turning them into a zombie?
I think the only person this wouldn't work on is, aside from probably Sasori, is just Nagato. Because Nagato, if you're having him use the Paths of Pain, he's just controlling like corpses. So like,
Yeah, he's just
there's
using
not really
chakra
like,
rods to
that
control
wouldn't
the
affect
body.
the real Nagato's body. Yeah, he's basically using them as like an artificial construct for his body, like a receiver. So you wouldn't really be able to fight him for control of that. You'd have to find the real Nagato, and Dio wouldn't have any reason to believe that, at least not at the beginning of the fight. But for 90% of them, even if they are humans, even if they are like strengthened humans, some of them are immortals, they're still fundamentally human at the end of the day, with human anatomy.
I don't think he's gone over cars yet. But one thing to mention, if he gets the cars, that cars would have all the abilities that Vampire Dio would have, including like hypnosis and all that, because again, vampires are just lesser versions of the Pillar Men.
Yeah. Funny bad that Yoshikage has been relegated to not only not the anchor, he's a bad forward that can't support his entire team when he's literally the only person here who can blow up the entire universe with a snap of his fingers.
Let's be very clear here, like, all the villains win individually. It just depends on how much you do or do not want to like dig into how much they could win, and how much like of prep and battlefield awareness you want to give like the Naruto characters, because a lot of this is just like, oh, Deidara can fly, why would he? Itachi would use the Susanoo, okay, why? These are things where it's like, you can say that they can do them, I don't disagree that they could do them, but why would they do them? What are the circumstances that get them to that point?
All humans are physically capable of jumping. Does that mean every time a human decides to fight another human, they decide to jump really high in the air because they're capable of doing it?
Well, it's
That'd be really weird.
Well, it's the equivalent of using like Beerus and being like, well, Beerus can win because he'll just Hakai you. It's like, okay, but why would he though? That's not something he would start the fight off with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
Yeah, I'm at 20
We've
minutes.
got
20 minutes and 6 seconds.
Just wipe someone off the face of the map because he has Killer Queen. That's great. I think someone like Dio can open up so much of what the JoJo villains in general are capable of because he has time stop. I think that something again, like for example, fighting against Itachi, he could just show up.
Actually, I forgot to say this too. An ability that the series forgot that it gave Jotaro and Dio is the fact that Dio can fly.
Yeah. For no reason. It's never explained how he
just
can
can.
fly.
Whether you read the manga or you watch the anime fight, there's no way to explain how he does some of the shit he does unless you just say he can fly. I don't know how.
I would just say that in general, if we're gonna keep bringing up Datara is a non-factor to any fight here, because if this is a group fight, which it is, and they're all being brought to a location and being told they need to eliminate the other group and work together to eliminate the group, even if they don't feel great about it, the first thing Dio or Cars is going to do is take out the flyers if they start flying. Because Dio can fly, and so can Cars, because Cars can also give himself the abilities of any flying animal.
Well, again, like, Datara's most dangerous bomb isn't even the one that he used on the Sand Village. It's the C... It's the C1. That's the giant microscopic bomb. The problem with that is that why would he ever use it? Not only that requires ginormous amount of like prep time and needed to be covered by the other Akatsuki, and plus they would never let him use it because that would kill everybody on the field on his team aside from Sasori.
It would kill everyone aside from Sasori, and well, no, it would even kill the Pains because it would just detonate their entire cellular structure.
Yeah,
even if it didn't like kill
too.
Nagato, it would destroy the bodies that he uses.
Yeah, because
so it would be a waste of resources and manpower. Yeah, well, it's mostly just because like they're still a physical body, so like they just have to get inside your skin.
Yeah,
you don't have to breathe it in.
The way they get in, it's through the respiratory system. If you don't breathe,
but let's
be
honest, they could probably get in through your ears or other holes in your body. They're the size of microscopic things. They're literally like the size of cells. But either way, the only person who'd be able to see the C4 would be Itachi. But like, if that happens, only Itachi's going to be able to hightail it out of there in time. And that would require an enormous amount of prep time for him to use, as he said. That would require a massive amount of chakra for him to use. That would be a super huge boo, and that would not be something he would pull out.
Well, it's also like, let's assume that the only two people that would know what the technique might be is Itachi and Sasori. You're gonna have to have one of them clue in the other members of the Akatsuki to get the fuck out of there. And all of the JoJo villains are basically like genius level fighters. Hey, if somebody is cluing them in that this thing that exploded and they're all trying to get out of the area, they're all gonna try and book it straight away.
Also, the moment that happens, King Crimson is immediately, or Apataz is immediately going to tell Diavolo, and Diavolo is going to tell his entire team, hey, they're going to bomb the entire area. We need to get the fuck out of here.
And depending on... Because he hasn't even gotten to Poochie yet. If they're going to give Poochie with Made in Heaven, then Poochie will literally just grab everyone and book it to the other side of the planet until it's all over, and then bring them all back.
Oh, you know what? You know what? Better idea. Poochie will just kill Datara before he can pull the bomb out. He'll just shove his hand through his fucking neck. He'll be like, yeah, I could save all of you, but why don't I just kill the thing that's threatening you?
You know what's funny? He only saves Dio.
He only saves Dio. He's like, the rest of you are unworthy Mong. Just fucking leaves the laboratory. Wait, no. He has to save Dio twice because there are two Dios. He has to save both of his boyfriends.
Continuing, I'm at 2026.
Punch a hole right through him and then go on about his day, you know? And then Itachi would have already been hit. And say that he's not able to, he could put anybody else in a better position than him. He also can outlast a lot of people's chakra reserves and stuff because, like, this is Dio who can essentially fly. He doesn't fly, he's gliding because he's kicking off of the ground and stuff. As long as he's able to just keep on stopping time and just getting away from certain positions and stuff, it's great and all. Here's what I would say, that he probably could easily lose the fight just off of not knowing that people can kind of sense him. I know that no one on the Akatsuki has the Byakugan, but Naruto characters for the most part can kind of sense each other based off of energy to an extent. You know, like that's something that's like thought of with certain characters and their caliber and power and all that, yada yada yada. Sometimes people just have aura and that is detectable and all that. But I don't know. They can kind of sense each other. So I don't think that Dio can get away like in the regard of like, oh, I stopped time, I'm so like, where am I, yada yada yada, stuff like that. No, it's not like that. But he can just continuously set himself up for better things rather than trying to snake his way throughout the fight. But yeah, I think he's one of the best stand users we have in general. He'd be able to do things like get to Datara. You know, like let's say he can't fly all the way to Datara, but like certain things wouldn't be able to happen just because he can nip the battle in the bud pretty fast. Alongside Kakuzu's thing, it's all like, oh, you know, as Kakuzu goes on, maybe you can learn more things about Dio. Or Dio can just make this things easier. It's just all like, okay, try to punch a hole through the guy's heart. That didn't work. We're going to keep on trying to go about this because I'm not running out of energy. I'm just keep on doing it. This guy, he can probably figure me out, but I'm going to keep on getting away from him. Like, it's just, it opens more up for him. I think against Kisame, because we're already...
Let's be very clear here. If any of the Akatsuki somehow, because again, it took Joseph and Kakyoin to think really hard about what Dio's ability is. If any of them are capable of clocking that he's stopping time, they will shit a brick. They will not be able to do anything to stop him. Because anytime anyone has a space-time ninjutsu, it's a big deal.
Yeah, I was gonna say the first thing. I'm gonna switch to my earbuds in a minute because I don't want this call to cut out again. The first thing that's gonna happen, if that happens, is that they're immediately gonna go for their strongest possible kill move to take him out in a way that they think they can avoid it. And honestly, I think the only thing that Itachi could use, or the entire Akatsuki could use, aside from like maybe like Chibaku Tensei, which, to be fair, would affect the entire battlefield, would just be Itachi using Izanami. This is that not only would it probably blind his other eye, in addition to giving up one of his own eyes, he would have to create a circumstance where he can interact with Dio without dying, twice, without Dio activating the world, and then the rest of the team would just have to kind of like stand there.
And let's be very
and then trap him in a loop.
And let's be very clear. Itachi is their best hope in figuring out what Dio is doing. Because if they can't figure out what he's doing, because again, let's be very clear here, this fight's probably going to be taking place in the middle of a forest. Again, everybody in Part 3, on the Stardust Crusaders side, were basically like genius level fighters and genius level strategists, and it took them ages to figure out what Dio was doing.
Yeah, it took them so much time because it was also incredibly obscure. Same thing for what happened with Part Five's group and figuring out King Crimson. They did not understand anything that was going on, and it was not for a lack of like intelligence. You had Jorna over there with like this encyclopedic knowledge of biology and basic science, and he could not fucking understand what King Crimson was the first couple times they interacted with him.
It was
It
only
took him
after
so much time,
it was only
and
after
he
they
needed
talked.
information from
It was only after they talked to
directly.
It was only after they talked to Polnareff, and it's because Polnareff has seen it before and has been hit by it.
Yes, and they specifically had to pull their knowledge from multiple sources, all the people who got hit by King Crimson, to come to the conclusion that it's messing with time. So that's like a huge sample size of information, and we're not talking from people who are less intelligent than Itachi. I would actually argue they have better intelligence feats than Itachi does.
Yeah, like, granted, Itachi is easily the smartest member of the Akatsuki, and him by himself,
No doubt.
I don't think would be able to figure out what most of the abilities the JoJo villains are walking in are, unless they specifically tell them what they're doing, which they won't, because JoJo villains and JoJo characters in general never talk about their abilities.
Yeah, they make it a point that like when you learn things in JoJo's, specifically about stands, you don't actually learn the stand ability because the character told you it. In fact, they tell you that telling another person your stand ability is not only a weakness, it's a super personal, invasive thing. It's like showing someone your butthole, is what they say. It's something that they would never do because it's incredibly invasive of their privacy. As well as like a detriment to their life.
The only time that they would ever
That's
know.
assuming.
The only time they will ever know is if they're forced to team up and it's life and death, or you are like really, really good friends.
Yeah, and to be clear, that's assuming you could see the stand and you even know what a stand is, how it functions, and how to counter it. So you have so much knowledge that is inapplicable. Whereas you don't really need to know how chakra works to kind of like look at it and see that they're using some kind of energy, because all they're doing is shooting, in most cases, fireballs or like elemental sharks or bombs at you.
It's like, okay, the Shark Man fires water, the Emo makes clones and shoots fire.
Emo fires fireball.
The Ginger makes this barrier that's a pain in the ass to get around. The Zealot basically stabs himself. You can leave him alone. He's useless. Like, the Akatsuki are extremely simple, that you can look at what they're doing and you can figure out what their gimmick is pretty quickly.
Anyway, we can continue.
Yep.
Throwing like the attack potency stuff out the window because like I know in general how that talk just becomes fairly annoying for most people. But let's just say that yeah, Kisame and Dio, let's say for the sake of the scenario, like they're comparable. I think that if they are comparable and one has the ability to stop time, he can pretty much negate what most things like Kisame has. And even if Kisame was to go about, oh hey, let me try to do the water dome thing, he can pretty much get like he just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just fly away. I'm like, oh, it's showing up on me, stop time, gets further away, stop time, gets further away. And he wouldn't be able to get to it. You know, so I think it's pretty advantageous for Dio against most.
Sorry, I got that.
Most of them. Now we up to Ultimate Cars, and I'm going off of who has like the best matchup, worst matchup, the best matchup. We have Ultimate Cars. Cars has perfect adaptation to all like physical, natural, biological threats. Cellular level regeneration. He is extremely fast, just like a stand user. 400 IQ, has all of the abilities of every animal, every insect, everything, you know. And this is for if you came in and you're a Naruto person only. So Cars, he essentially was able to multiply whoever the best was in terms of power. Like so, Joseph Joestar was the best Hamon user that we had, right? He was able to modify himself, biologically speaking, to set up whatever the way he needs to, and his Hamon Hamon, just off top, like his first try at it, he was hundreds of times better than the best Hamon user. And he can also melt people like cellularly just because it's a pillar man. So if it is natural, it's something he can do. You know, he can adapt to it and he smokes out. He's great on this.
So this is a little bit of a preview of a video that we're going to do in the future, a little versus match, where we're going to do Ultimate Cars versus Alex. Because funny enough, a lot of people don't go into detail about how disgusting Cars is. Cars, because of the ultimate ability, can be the most disgusting thing walking the planet. He can be the most toxic, venomous thing on the planet any given time, and he has access to the entire gene pool of every creature that has ever lived on the planet. People are really, really unaware of how much range that gives him in terms of arsenal and how dangerous that makes him. Mangler's been through the George Joestar novel, and whether you think that the George Joestar novel is canon or not, it would show you what Ultimate Cars can do when he's not hampered by the plot.
Yeah, when he's literally like the main character or one of the main characters. So, where did you leave off in terms of the timestamp? Did you get to the point where he talks about what the Akatsuki can do?
Currently, I am 24/17 because I
just keep going.
Again, because this gets into something that like really bugs the crap out of me when people talk about Cars and they make him sound super simplistic. But it's like, if you understand what he can do, you would never in a million years think that a low tier fodder like Meruem, Fight Me, would be ever capable of touching Cars in a fight.
He'll bring up the Akatsuki in the context of Cars in a bit. About a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, but we're about to get into his explanations about what he can do against the Akatsuki.
His weaknesses, I don't think he can do anything towards soul manipulation because souls aren't biological, and that can definitely be sealed. I think dimensional removal.
Okay, first problem, soul manipulation. The human path can only manipulate the soul if he touches you physically. The human path does not ever want to touch Cars. Cars has the same ability and better than Santana, and Santana can fuse and absorb bodies via touch. And this is also shown by Wamu when they first awaken, and he does it to the German army.
All of the Pillarmen, the entire Pillarmen species have the ability to perfectly absorb things in their body. And we also see that human beings, when they have their full brain capabilities unlocked in JoJo's, they become what you call our vampires, aka what Dio became. And when Dio touched people, he could completely control the bodily fluids and temperature inside their body to the point where he could freeze them in a block of ice or set them ablaze. All Cars and the Pillarmen are doing is an evolution of that ability to where they completely control all the cells in your body. And they could do that before he became Ultimate Cars.
And again,
so what will happen is that he'll just walk up to you and just absorb you. And Santana absorbed a stone-masked vampire in their facility when he had been like starved for thousands of years. He couldn't even talk. He could barely comprehend what was going on around him. First thing he does is he just touches him, passively absorbs him into his body.
Santana is also so intelligent. He learned how to talk by listening to Stroheim through the air vents, and he picked up the English language in minutes.
Yeah.
Not only that, they have body control, so they can pretty much enter through any wound they want and basically erupt like a horror movie death. Or they could just, again, any vampiric ability that Dio has shown in part 1, not just Cars, but the Pillarmen as a species would all have those, but better versions of them.
Yep. So even if the human path tried to touch him, that would just get him absorbed. And to be clear, this is Ultimate Cars. I would actually argue you can't rip out his soul. Because as we find out in the George Joestar novel, when Killer Queen tries to actually blow up Cars, it doesn't work, and Cars even grabs Killer Queen and says, "Do it again and try it harder," and has him detonate tons of bombs inside Cars' body, dozens of bombs, and they do nothing to Cars, to the point where he convinces Killer Queen that you will never beat me. And when he does that, he convinces Killer Queen to leave Yoshikage Kira behind and give up on him, and then activate Bites the Dust in order to leave the universe so he can go back to fight Dio. This is an alternate timeline version of him, but it's literally just Cars. If he survived the events of like part two, well, if he was frozen, and then in the next universe, when he was frozen for the entire length of the universe ending, he just goes to Mars. So like you can't mess with his soul, and I would argue you can't mess with his soul in general because Ultimate Cars is just a fully evolved version of a Pillarman. A Pillarman is already basically the equivalent of a stand ability because you have to have like fully evolved Hamon to be able to interact with them. He's an evolved Pillarman. He is to a Pillarman what a stand is to like a human.
He is the closest thing in JoJo to a god. And let's be very clear here. When he shows that he can absorb things with the bone blades, this gets worse in the ultimate form. He should be able to absorb blood via any transformations he does and things that detach from his body, which means he could literally turn himself into a cloud of pollen or any microscopic organisms and literally drain your life or consume you just by a touch, just by being any kind of various transformation of, animal or plant life.
Saying Kamui would work on him and the Totsuka Blade, so I'm gonna go over those. I think the Totsuka Blade is fine because the Totsuka Blade is a weapon that's designed to work on souls, and it just sucks you into like a dream dimension of like nightmares and like drunken stupor. So there's not really like anything you can do with that because it's a ceiling BFR. Kamui, though, not so much, because Kamui does have a transition time where you have to suck them in, and multiple characters have demonstrated that when Obito tries to grab them, he doesn't pull them in there instantly. He needs to take a few seconds to actually suck you in, and he usually needs to grab you, because he has to be very, very close to you in order to hit
let's
you.
go even further.
And you can just move.
Let's go even further. Let's say that Obito is given both Sharingan, so he has the full Karma we said. Depending on how far away you are, he needs to focus on you, and if you break his concentration or break the line of sight, the Kamui won't work. Secondly, this is the same problem as the human path. Obito does not want to touch Cars, because before he would even suck him into the Kamui dimension, he would be taking that arm with him.
Yeah, and that's the problem. When Obito tries to suck you into the Kamui dimension, he always tries to grab you.
Because
he wants to make sure you don't move.
The closer you are to him, the faster he can suck you in, but that's a very big disadvantage, especially in a fight against these group of characters, especially Cars.
So I would argue that worst case scenario, even if Cars get sucked in the Kamui dimension, most of Obito's body is getting absorbed into Cars immediately. So either A, the Kamui a thing is not going to go off, because depending on what part of his body is being absorbed, the eye won't have enough time to actually suck him in. And most of Obito's organs, along with his chakra, is getting sucked away. So he won't be able to perform the jutsu of sucking him in there, because all of his chakra will be gone, and all of the organs connecting him and that chakra to the rest of his body will be gone. So there won't be any energy to shoot out from his eye to conduct the jutsu. He'll just be gone. And if not, then if both of them somehow resolved at the same time, which, let's be clear, Cars would probably happen first, then Cars is basically absorbing him into himself, and he's getting sent into the Kamui dimension. So all that would do is get rid of Obito permanently and suck Cars into the Kamui dimension, which isn't the worst thing in the world, because Cars would be fine.
He'd be bored for a bit, but that's about it.
Also, Well, also Cars, if he absorbed Obito, he would eventually be able to replicate Obito's abilities because now he has Obito's entire organic structure, including his chakra network, all of his organs, the Sharingan, and that ability. So as soon as he figures out where he is, it's only going to take him like a couple minutes to replicate that and create his own version of it until he finds a way out of the Convoy dimension. So even worst case scenario, even if he gets sucked in, Obito is getting absorbed in the process. Totsuka Blade is fine, but Itachi would never pull that out in character. Like I said, he would have to be extremely desperate to do that.
And you can't keep saying like Susanoo and Tsukiyomi for all of the JoJo villains. There's gonna be a point where it's like you're gonna have to pick and choose who his target is gonna be.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Itachi's gonna run out of stamina at some point. He's just gonna go blind. Like even if he does have access to the Susanoo and it's up, he will be blind. He won't be able to see anything. So
Yep. Alright. Well, that's actually funny enough. Even if he does use the Susanoo, it'll take Kaz because Kaz has an IQ of 400. It'll take him all of 2 seconds to be like, what's the bet that you're not blocking anything where your feet is? I'm continuing.
Like if he was gonna be like, oh, I got Kamui away, oh no, he disappears, he's gone. But there are certain things that he does that makes him such a contender. Like if Itachi was to be like, oh, Amaterasu, it's on your face, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm burning. He could legit just dead whatever part that got like hit with Amaterasu. Like he could cut off his own head and regenerate his head. Anything that gets hit with Amaterasu, it can just be regenerated anyways. Against Obito, yeah, for sure, Obito can Kamui him away, but can Obito get rid of Cars past Kamui? Like we have no reason to believe that. Okay, damage wise, like again, this idea like, oh hey, we're comparable, everyone's comparable. Damage wise, like hey, look, he's gonna regenerate off of that. You don't have anything to truly get rid of him, and he is addicted to regen. He's like Cell. So it's like, oh, could Obito beat Cell in this specific regard? It's like, man, even with Kamui, this seems like a pretty difficult fight. I think for everybody else, very much possible on beating. Beating Deidara, easy. Like that's very possible. Beating Kakuzu, yes. Beating Kisame, yes. Beating Sasori, like he's one of the only people that if they do get poisoned, I'm chill. Like this ain't nothing to me. Like, oh, you just poisoned this part of the body. I'm already done. Like I'm already moved on to the next thing. You can't.
2543. I am happy that he is acknowledging that even if he's poisoned by Sasori, he would just adapt to it super quickly.
that's assuming the poison would really work on him. I'm pretty sure there are stronger poisons in the wild and deeper poisons than Sasori's poison, because there are poisons from animals that are designed in the wild to kill that are potent. There are poisons of scorpions and like snakes in like very arid and desert areas of the planet that can kill adult humans in like less than a day and can paralyze them. Like they are more potent than Sasori's poison. Sasori's poisons are actually not that deadly compared to some of the poisons on our world. They kill you much sooner than his do.
Sasori's poisons are more meant for paralysis and torture. The thing with Kaz is that he would have access to, because he has access to the entire evolutionary pool, which means he would have antibodies to all the different types of venoms and poisons that there are. And that would include like being able to instantly adapt to things by like the Deathstalker Scorpion or the Inland Taipan, which are like the deadliest versions of both that scorpion
desert
and like
desert scorpions snake. Too, poison dart frogs, everything. Like most of those scorpion variants can kill you. Yeah, most of them can kill you in under a day. They usually can kill you in like hours. Any rattlesnake or cobra, any snake venom, all of those, because he would also have the immune system
jellyfish.
And the organs. Yep, jellyfish. He would have the organs and the immune system needed to produce that poison naturally in his body. So he has to be capable of having the chemical structure needed to sustain that. Well, meaning something like Sasori's poisons wouldn't even inconvenience him. And the moment that you shot them, he would not only be able to smell that it's poison because he'd be able to detect the pheromones and the chemicals in it, and two, he'd be able to know it's not a threat to him.
Well, something
because he would know what it's made out of.
Well, again, just to give you like a scenario of how disgusting like Kaz could be, he could literally turn like his entire body into like into pollen or spores and go over the immediate area, and then he could just turn his entire body into cyanide. Because you can find cyanide naturally
There's
in
a
different
reason we
seeds and shit.
compare him.
And then they could just inhale, like, cars, and then they'll just die due to, like, cyanide poisoning or anthrax, anything. Like, it doesn't matter. You can pick a shit way to die naturally, and he can do it at a faster rate.
He could turn into anything on the periodic table. It could be mercury. It could be iron. It could be like fucking carbon. Like literally anything with any amount of like pure nitrogen. Like it doesn't matter what it is. There's a reason we compare him to Alex Mercer. It's because he has almost the exact same type of abilities. It's just in JoJo's, which actually makes it infinitely worse because that means we give him stands too. Because technically speaking, George Joestar has made it clear that if Ultimate Cars sees a stand, because of his power of understanding and because he is an evolved being at the level of a stand, all he needs to do is see and discover what a stand is, and he could awaken his own. In fact, when he reaches that point, he actually awakens ultimate versions of other people's stands.
Like again,
even if he only had one, he could still copy at least a stand. And all of the characters you've surrounded him with have some of the best stands. We got the World, we got King Crimson, we have like Killer Queen, we have Made in Heaven, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, and Wonder of You. Like these are some of the strongest stands ever. It doesn't matter which one he copies, he's gonna make a better version of it.
Even
that's assuming he can only copy one.
Even if you exclude the information from George Joestar, the amount of variations and stuff that cars can do with just being able to have access to the evolutionary pool makes him one of the most disgusting and annoying characters in a versus match.
You don't even need George Joestar. I'm just pointing that out. Like George Joestar is something that you have to use, but the main like technically part 2 already points out that because he copied Hamon, he could just copy your stance. Because Hamon is just an ability that allows you to achieve a stand, and he can still copy your evolutionary abilities just by looking at you.
Before we move on, like some of the ways that I've explained that cars could manipulate his body and kill the Akatsuki, I want people to understand I am not even touching like the tippy top of what he can do in terms of the mountain of bullshit. There are hundreds of thousands of different arguments and combinations that you could come up with him. I'm just giving you like some of the most like brain dead like baseline stuff that you can think for him off the top of your head. I'm sure if I was to sit there for like a good month and think of different ways that cars could fuck people over with his abilities, I'm sure I could give you a list going into like the thousands of different ways just purely off that ability alone.
Yeah. Anyway, we're on to the next guy on the chopping block, which is Enrico Pucci.
Well, I'm currently at 25-44, so let me catch up.
If you regenerate everything, because every sort of poison you got, it's not enough. I'm Cars. So that's great. Next, we have our third man. This is Enrico Pucci, Big Dog. Enrico Pucci is so fast. Like, he can run over to you, take your, like, it's not, they have stand discs, but they're not just stand discs. He can take all your memory function. It's gone. I've run away again. That's probably one of the most broken things that's on here. And how many people he'd be able to just get past them just off of speed? Itachi and Pucci are not linking up, eyesight-wise. They're not. We also have Obito. I think truly Obito could react to most things. I just don't think that he's going to be able to calmly, he's not going to be able to calmly Enrico Pucci, because I'm just like...
Okay, so 26-36. He's not going to be able... No one on this battlefield is going to be able to react to Pucci. Pucci has infinite speed. And Made in Heaven has all the same abilities as White Snake, which means at any point, he could either kill you, or he could be a real dick about this and steal your soul and your memories, leaving you in a catatonic vegetable state for the rest of your days.
Yep. So ultimately, you would not only not know what happened, you wouldn't even be able to perceive reality after he touched you.
I want to put this in perspective for people. Poochie is the JoJo villain who technically won. He beat his cast of JoJo characters. He won. He achieved what he wanted to. He lost through the plot bullshit. He
Yep.
literally kills the
Lost.
entire cast of like the
It,
JoJo's going like the JoJo team going after him.
he lost the same way Lily Barrow lost, even though he came back from the most bullshit ability ever. They're like, yeah, you can't defeat me. It's like, oh, well, I've introduced this ability, which happens to be a plot device that we just created for the purposes of this fight, and it's perfectly designed to counter you. Like, how fucking convenient.
Yeah, well, let's give them a little bit of let's give them a little bit of a reprieve, and let's be like, okay, well, what if you only give him Sea Moon? Okay, then they'll never touch him, and if they do touch him, cool, he'll turn you inside out with a touch. So I hope they all like dying by having their organs spill out of their body.
Well, it's also the fact that he just controls gravity. So, like, you can't get near him. And you can't throw anything at him either. Also, his ability of gravity, I would argue, is a lot stronger than Pain's because he affects people for like towns and miles away at a time passively. Pain could only ever achieve something like that with like a full power planetary devastation,
So
and
you're,
that took an enormous amount of chakra.
so you're
Poochie can just do it
American.
like
You're
all the
American.
time.
You're American. Where's Cape Canaveral?
Cape Canaveral is in Florida.
Yeah, his range is the entirety of Florida. He was messing around with everything in Florida.
Granted, part of that was due to the fact that Florida, due to where it's located on the map, is very close to not just the equator. It's a specific part of the equator that has a high gravitational pull. So stronger gravitational pull areas make his abilities really fucking absurd. But that doesn't change the fact that the range would still be massive regardless. You would not be able to mess with him. Granted, that would mess over a lot of the other JoJo's characters, but some of them know what that is. I mean, Dio, in particular, can fly. Both versions, as I pointed out. Cars can fly. The Part 8 character, the Doctor, doesn't have to worry about this. The funny Valentine could literally just squeeze himself between two objects and come away to like a different location to reposition himself. And Diavolo would be able to determine what Poochie is about to do, so he'd be able to relocate himself before he activates it. Yoshikage Kira is the only one that's kind of boned by that.
Like,
But,
even,
but this is an example of like what I'm talking about. Like if we talk about like an ability on the JoJo's villain side that is like detrimental to their team, like Sea Moon, because it is a little bit detrimental. I'm gonna be completely honest. It kind of fucks over their offensive abilities. It only fucks over certain ones, and most of the characters have different ways that they can get out of the disadvantages of that thing. And the only ones that don't, let's be honest, Kira just kind of ends the fight by telling them all his name.
well,
So like, this is
so
assuming he just end the fight immediately.
so like, as I said, like even if you just give him Whitesnake, Whitesnake would just do the exact same things I mentioned that Made in Heaven can do, except he's not anywhere near as fast. But the problem is with Made in Heaven, because everybody's techniques are based on organic substances, fire jutsus would disintegrate straight away. The Susanoo would literally run out in an instant. Um, because they all use different things that would be extinguished by time. Like, he's basically being hit by, like, Baragon Senescence, except, like, way
Well,
faster.
technically gravity. Well, technically it's gravity, but like gravity.
Yeah, but
Well,
what I
okay, he
mean is that,
controls
like,
both gravity and time, which is also technically fate.
what I'm basically
Yeah.
getting to is that, like, let's say that Kisame tries to fire, like a super shock bomb. The super shock bomb would disintegrate even before it leaves his vicinity. Same with a fireball jutsu. Same with, like, a myriad of different slew of attacks that they all have. All of their techniques would basically be nullified before they even leave them.
This was without mentioning that if Made in Heaven gets activated, that is going to screw over the Naruto characters way more, and not just because like Made in Heaven would speed blitz them, because it would, and there's nothing they'd be able to do to stop it. Because even Star Platinum, when moving above the speed of light, could not touch Made in Heaven, even when it was throwing out like dozens to hundreds of punches in an instant. It could not touch him.
The only way
he was basically just after imaging around it.
The only way that they knew what Poochie was doing and where he was is when they stopped time. But hey, I hate to break this to you, none of the Akatsuki have time abilities.
Which, to be clear, that didn't change anything in the fact at the end, because even if he had the ability to stop time, Poochie eventually just would have just bait and switched him and killed him. That's literally what he did.
He also sped up the timer for stop time, so he can literally progress time even if it was stopped.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Made in Heaven has a different function that it does as a result of accelerating time. So everything in the universe accelerates because he accelerates time. So that means if you throw anything, it is now going to be moving at a speed that is astronomically faster than it's capable of moving under the laws of physics.
Oh yeah, actually.
So if Itachi decides to throw a fireball or just like fire style fireball jutsu, it's just going to disappear, or it will like hit the wall back there and explode. And depending on what's happening, especially if like there's a teammate near him and Datara decides to detonate something, Datara could just kill himself.
Okay.
Or anyone on his team.
So this is actually what's going to be really funny when I bring this up, is the fact of like all of their ninja tools will disintegrate before their eyes, and that includes all of Datara's clay bombs. All of Datara's like chakra clay would literally turn to dust in front of his eyes, because everything inorganic also disappears and like crumbles and disappears because time's effect on it.
Yeah, it's also the fact that even if it didn't, it falls to the ground and it's basically stuck on the ground due to how it affects time and gravity. And they point out that even in JoJo's, a regular like a sliding door, you know those like magnetically controlled doors at the front of stores where you step on the pad and it opens the door. That even if a standard user were to walk through that when Made in Heaven is active, it would basically slice open their leg, because time being accelerated makes the door move way faster than it should, and it does significantly more damage because of the speed it's moving at. So like they could end up killing themselves just by walking around randomly.
Yep.
And they wouldn't understand what's happening. Anyway,
I think we've gone over in extensive detail how Poochie would be a major pain in the ass. I think we can continue.
Yeah.
Look, man, this is like better Minato speed. And like it might have been close when you was young and Minato was like, oh, okay, dang, I didn't know how this guy gets down. But this is the fastest guy. If it was like Sea Moon, I think it's different, because it's just like, yeah, he still has to make contact to make people just like, oh, I'm turning inside out. Like he would have to make contact for that. And the distance thing could definitely beat him out. Like, because a lot of stuff gravity-wise would be flipping around and everything. But certain things would still just be easier. Like Datara goes from not being able to mess with Poochie because of Made in Heaven to being able to very much being able to mess with him because like, hey, look, like you're still on the ground and I'm up here. Same thing goes with like Itachi, Obito, everybody. They're just like, oh, hold on, wait, whoa, you're not that fast. Let's chill. You're not getting to me. Plus, I can summon Susanoo relatively decently, I think everybody else can do pretty well when it's like Sea Moon and White Snake, but, I'm giving everybody everything that they have, so I think that Made in Heaven is the one to put a nail in the coffin for a lot of the characters we have here. Now, this is where we're at to the point where, hey, look, a lot of people had like, okay, this works for them, all that stupid stuff, right? This is where the gap is like fully wide, all right? We have Funny Valentine. Imagine Kamui, Izanagi, and Shadow Clone Jutsu, except the clones are real, right? So how Funny Valentine and Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap works is that Valentine's able to move between parallel universes, and all he has to do is be between something, just be between something. This allows him to escape like all the time. He has a lethal touch because if he brings an alternative version of you from another dimension, as soon as you come into contact with that version of you, both versions would annihilate each other. They just explode, gone. And he is the only person that can exist with his alternatives. He essentially has infinite backup and an infinite amount of like intelligence gathering, because it's like, oh shoot, I don't know anything about Itachi Uchiha. I'll be right back. And then you just come back. Hey, look, I have this guy. His name is Sasuke Uchiha. So this is great. Like, and it can work. But put that to the side. Valentine has a form of D4C where it's a D4C love train, and love train redirects all misfortune. He still has the dimensional travel and everything like that. He just has this additional, oh hey, I can redirect misfortune. That is so unfortunate, because I think it basically should beat out pretty much everybody besides Obito 1-to-1. Like, not immediately, because Obito could be like, whoa, he's redirecting that misfortune. I gotta get out of here. And he can calm me away. That's fine. But everything else should redirect. Shinra Tensei would redirect. Chibaku Tensei redirect. Imagine Amaterasu redirecting.
No, that's incorrect. So Obito would also get hit by Love Train. Obito cannot combo. So while Obito can combo his entire body into the combo dimension, he typically doesn't combo his entire body into the combo dimension all at once. And most of the characters that fight D4C Love Train always get hit by the ability. The only people who don't are people who just specifically bypass the dimensional barrier that exists between Funny Valentine and the rest of reality caused by D4C Love Train, the so-called golden fence that he's showing on screen there.
So,
Obito wouldn't be able to escape that.
I
know Obito can like jump into other dimensions, but like if Obito threw like a fire style at him, he wouldn't be able to just like jump into. Well, okay, if he jumped into Conway before it hit the fence, yes, but he would have to know that's there, and he would not know.
So
it would just get redirected immediately, and he would just get dismantled by his own fire style.
The one thing I want to bring up that he jumped through super quickly was the dimensional hopping. What he doesn't understand is, and because Funny Valentine has done this before, he can drag just a part of your body with him and just fucking leave you there, which means you are dimensionally stuck between 2 points and you can't move. He can literally anchor the entirety of the Akatsuki team, and there's nothing they can do to stop that.
Yeah, there's also the problem that he can take out specific members. A lot of people think that like the way Funny Valentine is going to use it is that he's just going to grab you and get an alternate version of you in the same space, and then due to quantum superposition and the laws of like matter, 2 objects can't exist at the same time, and those 2 characters will be annihilated at the atomic level. He doesn't have to do that. He can just take you to another universe and leave you there, and then just come back. And he can come back with more Funny Valentines who all have D4C. So you end up fighting an army of Funny Valentines. That's not only what happens in Part 7, that also happens in George Joestar. George Joestar literally shows us that Dio contacts Funny Valentine and gets Funny Valentine to activate D4C so many times. There are 18 D4Cs and 18 Funny Valentines floating around to attack him. And when he fought Cars, he literally activated the world and would move D4C in front of him right before it activated its ability, and then resume time in order to BFR Cars to another universe. So, like, the stand users are not only smart enough to use this, Funny Valentine himself could just solo the entire Akatsuki by just bringing in more copies of himself and then just BFRing the rest of them and dismantling the rest. Because you can't kill Funny Valentine normally, as he says. He could just keep replacing himself with another version. It kind of makes him a pain in the ass to fight.
He would be a massive pain in the ass to fight, because he's also one of the ones.
Well, we're talking about
he's also one of the ones that would be extremely hard to land an actual hit on because of how his ability works, and because of how I brought up earlier, how he has to be between 2 things. He can literally place himself between the flag, and let's say that one of them somehow got close enough to try and strike him. That would just push his body into the other dimension, and basically no damage would be done.
Well, he wouldn't even have to do that. He could just use the flag and the ground or he could use one of his teammates.
Or
He'd
he
be like,
can do,
hey, come here, really quickly.
or he can do what he's done countless times, which is he can fly around with the flag and briefly bring himself out and just snipe you in the back of the head with his gun.
Yeah, well, it's also they're in the area. He has the ground. He probably has rocks or trees, or if they're fighting in a city, he has walls and buildings and streets. Like there's going to be objects anywhere. They're not going to be fighting in like a fucking void. There's going to be two objects somewhere because he always has at least one object. He has the flag on his back. He just needs to find one other object to squeeze himself between, and then bam.
Yeah,
Win condition achieved.
again, like one of the things I pointed out was this fight's probably going to take place in a forest of some description, so he'll have leaves that he could probably have land on him, or God forbid, like Kisame uses his water style, he has an entire armada of water to use at his disposal.
That just sounds so stupid. Picturing in my head of this like grown ass man trying to squeeze himself between objects, and the Akatsuki are like, "What is he doing?" And he just goes poof. Comes back with more clones. It's like your worst nightmare has arrived.
Yeah, I'm at 29.33.
I just wanted to clarify that Love Train technically does not, like, you can't just escape from Love Train. Once it's triggered, if you are in the universe, you're done. It works the same way that the balance works in Bleach. It just redirects like probability unfavorably back on you, so you just get killed by random shit. To put it in perspective, it's like Wonder Review, except it's almost always lethal, and it doesn't require you to have intent.
Or even
towards
if it's,
Valentine.
or even if it's like, you know, you don't get hit with the misfortune, it'll be like what was that very petty Nephilim weapon from Darksiders?
Oh, I know which one you're talking
Absolution?
about. It was no, it was
Mortis.
no, you were thinking Mortis, yeah.
Yeah, where it will just like instead of going for you, it'll
like
just go to like
Mortis.
your family member or something.
Yeah, if you attack Mortis will redirect the damage. It will redirect a current of emotional energy that will travel even across the entire planet and kill all of your loved ones. It's like such a spiteful, disgusting move. And to be clear, like Love Train is more versatile than Wonder Review is. It targets a broader range of things because it's being directly controlled, and it's also being automatically controlled by Funny Valentine. Whereas the Doctor's just kind of like walking around. Funny Valentine doesn't. Also, Funny Valentine can still attack you and can approach you with what's it called? D4C. Like having Love Train doesn't stop him from using D4C. It's just that he's probably likely to camp you if he has Love Train, but he doesn't have to camp you. He can just slowly walk towards you if he wants to. And there's not really anything you can do about it.
Yep.
The C4 bombs, all of that stuff that Data got. Imagine that redirecting and going all towards the Akatsuki members. That is hilarious. And that's Love Train. This is one guy. Honestly, a lot of the time you can have like just Funny Valentine versus a whole lot of people, and it's the same thing. Like he's extremely broken, but that was just him. And lastly, we have the new champion of it all, Wonder Review. I can't believe Toru got this far. But yeah, so Toru, the stand user, has a stand, Wonder Review. And this is an automatic calamity that will trigger against anyone pursuing him or attacking him. This ability works on intent, not exactly action, and it escalates when you pursue him even more. It also can't be turned off. So the Wonder Review controls the logic of the world itself. That's the thing. So in general, in the world, you know, stuff is going to happen. Bad stuff is going to happen. Calamities happen. But what Wonder Review does is essentially like manipulating all of that, fate, luck, all of that, to work against anyone pursuing him. This has a whole bunch of calamity energy in general, but alongside that, this guy has like karmic retribution, which essentially means like, hey, look, it might not even be the pursuit thing. You might have just like sort of pursued me in a way, like you saw a picture of me and all that, but you have done so much bad in your life that Wonder Review is going to activate and get on you immediately. That's concerning. Like that's...
Yes and no. The problem with Wonder Review is that it's so inconsistent about the level of damage that it'll give to you. What Wonder Review is trying to do is trying to get you to stop pursuing him. So it will ramp up intensity the more you're trying to pursue him. it won't start off lethal. It'll just start off being inconvenient. But the more you do it, the more lethal it will get. It doesn't just
It's
begin at lethality.
it's like an alert system. That's the best way to think of it. It's like an alert or an escalation system in like a GTA game. It's like as you start out, Wonder Review or Toru is actually trying to get you to stop pursuing him. He doesn't want to hurt you. Unlike most of the villains in JoJo, he genuinely believes what he's doing as a doctor and his ethics is the right thing. He doesn't want to kill people if he doesn't have to. That's kind of like one of the weaknesses he has as a character, or at least as a villain. The rest of them are a lot more bloodlusted. But the thing is that the more you pursue him, the more you actively go after him, the more lethal the attacks become. So it escalates from like a chair coming out of the room to break your leg to like a car smashing you into the wall randomly
I was gonna
out of
say
like nowhere.
I was gonna say as a weakness of a character, he's kind of a groomer when you find out his relationship with Yasuo.
Yeah, listen, I just said it was the weakness that I was thinking of. But yeah, it's so to be clear, it is causality manipulation. Basically, don't call it calamity manipulation. That's not an ability. It manipulates laws, specifically causality and like fate, but it's very limited because you have to pursue him. Now, if Itachi, the rest of these characters were stand users, I am completely convinced they would be able to deal with Wonder Review. I don't think Wonder Review would be difficult. The rest of the stands, they would not be able to deal with.
This is gonna
But because they can't see it and they don't know what it is, the only thing they're going to see is the doctor. Well, actually, no, this might be worse.
So
Because if Toryu's there, Toryu's still going to be there, and they're going to see him, which means that's going to activate the final calamity. So that's going to signal their death.
So before I get you to finish your pontification on the grisly ends of the Akatsuki, this is kind of like a little spoiler for how Mangler and I see Wonder Review. We believe that a lot of the villains and a lot of the protagonists, and not just the protagonists, a lot of like the other miscellaneous stands throughout the series would be very capable of dealing with the Doctor.
Well, also because of how intelligent they are, and the fact that they actually have stands that can interact with them. The issue is that this is a fight to the death with characters, most of whom are mercenaries, that are completely fine with killing people. They're completely fine with operating outside the ethics of like a civilized world. So, in all intents and purposes, most of them are going to have the intent to kill him. Well, let's just run down the list of those who would have the intent to kill him.
All
Just
of them.
Strictly bloodlust. Datara and Hidan and Datara, Hidan, Kakazu, and Sasori are definitively bloodlusted most of the time. They're always trying to kill people for any given reason. They do not give a fuck who you are. They will usually kill you. And when I say bloodlust, I don't mean they're angry. Like they're attacking you with killer intent. They're like, yeah, I'm about to take this man out. Usually with a smile on their face. Or Kisame. So that's about like 5 members of the Akatsuki that are always pursuing you with the intent to take your life. Itachi, not so much. He's a little bit different. Zetsu, not necessarily. Obito depends. Conan, it also depends. And Nagato, I would say more times than not, he's usually trying to kill you, but he just justifies it with the position of peace. But he's still pursuing you. That's kind of like the best members of the Akatsuki. Because, like, Datara, Sasori, and Nagato have the most versatile abilities out of any of them that work in most general situations. And they're going to look at Toryu and be like, that guy's a threat to peace or the Akatsuki or whatever, or some bullshit. Let's kill him. And that's going to trigger Wonder Review immediately.
Yep. Alright, continuing.
That's just wild itself. And it's essentially also power nullification because it can manipulate how you use your own stuff. Like it manipulated Josuke by been fighting him. And sometimes stuff that like, oh hey look, I used my Amaterasu. Wait a minute, my Amaterasu's on me. How did that happen? And the only answer is yeah, that was Wonder Review. So
Okay, hang on. I just
Yeah,
got
that's not true. That's not true. I heard that one. That's through your mic. it doesn't nullify abilities, nor does it reflect them in that manner.
I was gonna say that's not how that
a
shit.
reactor.
I was gonna say that's not how that shit works. What it does is that it rewrites things. So the best way to look at the Doctor or Wonder Review is that if you've ever seen the Final Destination series, it works a lot like Death from Final Destination, where it will try, and even if it's ridiculous, it will try and kill you, but be rooted in some sort of logic. Even if it's like extremely unlucky, it will be rooted in some sort of logic.
Yeah, it's bound to the conditions of trying to attack the Doctor in a specific way where you want to harm him, and that intent to harm him is clear, and you are also actively trying to ruin some portion of his life. And but what is explained though is that even if you don't believe like the wanked interpretation of Wonder Review that most JoJo fans believe, you don't have to believe that, because Wonder Review is a stand that's a function of the universe. No matter where you go, Wonder Review will technically always be there as long as you're pursuing Toru. And since Toru in this discussion is actually standing in the field across from the Akatsuki, if they try to pursue him, which they're going to because they're going to kill everyone in that group, Wonder Review is going to activate for all of them. So they're all going to get hit by the effect of Wonder Review.
Like logically,
and Wonder Review is also going to aid the entirety of the JoJo's crew because they're helping Toru to keep him alive. And Calamity would recognize through the logic of the world, they are trying to protect him. Or at least that they are fighting against the Akatsuki. So it would actively also prevent them from getting hurt.
like a bit way to understand of how this ability would work if this fight was to happen. Don't think of it like, oh, I'm going to use Amaterasu and now Amaterasu's back on me. No, it would be something more akin to like, I used Amaterasu. Oh, this leaf is falling. This leaf has now cut my arm off. What the hell?
Or you would try to fire and then some dust would get in your eye. And
No,
then you would
you know what
shoot
it
a
would do?
Materasu at someone else by
No,
mistake.
you know what it would
You would shoot a
absolutely do?
Materasu at someone else.
What it would do
Yeah, go ahead.
is he would fire a Materasu, but then a bunch of leaves will fall in front of Toru, blocking the fire.
Or usually what would happen is that Data would try to throw a bomb or something. Like it's usually you're trying to do an action and then the action gets interrupted by something. Or it goes off, but it hits the wrong target.
Again,
in this case, he's almost always kill someone on his team.
It's always something to do with like trying, even if it's absurd logic, it's always has to be something rooted within logic. It's never done something like, oh, the earth has erupted like a pillar of stone out of the ground to protect him. Like, no, it's not doing shit like that. It's gonna try and like manipulate things around him so like logically you can see how it would happen, even if it's like extremely unlikely.
It's so what it'll do is it'll take existing laws and will put those laws on physical objects in the world favored towards him. So it will take a leaf and have a leaf fly through the air at like hypersonic speeds. So it has the velocity needed to rip through your body like a piece of paper. But when normally a leaf would never have that kind of velocity. But like technically, theoretically, a leaf could travel at that velocity if something threw it that way. It is possible due to the laws of physics and the universe. It's just a leaf would never naturally do that. But because it's possible within the world, it can happen under Wonder Review.
A great way to look about how it works is the ending of the fight, where the airplane's door flies off and it's heading towards Yasuo. It's extremely unlikely that would ever happen, but it is possible that through some very unfortunate circumstances you are killed by a falling plane door.
Statistically, practically like unlikely that it would happen, but because there is a possibility for it to happen, because it's probable within the laws of the universe, even if it's not statistically fallible, it can still happen. So yeah, I think that's everything. Let's see what else he has to say about. I'm at like 31.
I'm at
20 or whatever.
I'm at 31-22.
Here's my thing. Kamui should be able to get away from Toru like temporarily, but as soon as it happens, or even say like, let's say he actually like Kamui's himself into like the wrong thing. It works sort of like that because there is a logical, not premonition, but a logical point of Kamui that can easily be manipulated due to Wonder of You and how it functions, which is extremely concerning because it's like, oh wow, this is a busted character. What exactly are you supposed to do with this? And you know, it was difficult for JoJo to happen with that too. They had to hit him with an attack that didn't exactly exist, and we don't have that here.
Pause. That's wrong. Soft and Wet Go Beyond did exist. It was just so infallibly small that it couldn't control it.
So what's explained is that Soft and Wet's mass was so small. It was so close to like, it was so small that it was basically close to like an infinite level of like infinitesimally small mass that it could not be detected by the laws of the universe. That is why they classified it as something that doesn't exist in the universe. So the effect of Wonder Review didn't work on it because it just couldn't find the projectile he was shooting Torio with.
But by all logic,
Whereas Kamui doesn't really work
if you
like that.
read what Soft and Wet Go Beyond's like bubble is, it does explain that it does exist. It's just so infinitesimally small that the logic of the universe just wouldn't be able to find any way to negate it. It's the most bullshit,
honestly,
encumbersome way. It's literally one of those times where Araki shrugged his shoulders and is just like, I don't know how to end this, so fuck you.
yeah, if you're using Josuke ever, like the main utility that Josuke's Soft and Wet Go Beyond has is that it's just intended to get past barriers and things that protect people all the way down to like the quantum level.
Yeah,
where it's
it can
so
rob
small that it would bypass.
It's supposed to be able to
those
rob
kinds of
attributes, like rob sound, rob friction. Like, initially, it's a really cool and busted stand under certain conditions, but from what it does at the very end, it doesn't make sense why it has that ability.
Yeah. Either way, let's continue.
Now, with all things considered, what does a battle look like when it's happening all at once? So the Akatsuki, they do have their own coordination, and Kisame and Itachi work together. They do their stuff. They have their own like supers in the games. They have Pain, Konan, Kakuzu, Hidan, Sasori, and Deidara. They can work really, really well in combination. And the JoJo villains aren't team players, and they're extremely individualistic, but at the same time, you have Valentine here, and you also have Toru here.
So I just paused it at 32-34. While none of the villains, besides from like Dio and Pucci, would actively like team with each other, the problem with the Akatsuki is that they team with their partner specifically because they complement each other's powers. If you were to mix and match them, they would have such a rough time trying to coordinate with each other that it would just cause friction and they wouldn't be able to do anything.
They also don't like each other because Kakuzu has made it clear he has killed multiple members of the Akatsuki. Quote, every single partner I've ever had, but I haven't been able to kill Hidan because he's immortal.
It's kind of like
has
it's kind of like the rib of
homicided
like it's the rib of like
his partners.
it's kind of like a rib on Kakuzu where it's like I don't like Hidan, but I can't fucking get rid of him. And for Hidan, it's just like, hey, if he wants to try and kill me, that works perfectly if I can get some blood.
To be clear, that was not like, oh, I killed them by mistake because my abilities just covered so much area of effect and they blew up the entire battlefield. No, he just said, like, I just killed them because they annoyed me.
Yeah.
Too
like,
much.
At the same time...
That goes double for Hidan because he'll just justify it as a sacrifice to Vegeta.
Well, it's like, okay, what other teams? Well, Deidara and Sasori don't like each other. Deidara respects Sasori, but they don't like each other. They make that actively clear.
They only have a respect for art. They only have a respect for art, and that's the only thing they have in common with one another.
Deidara doesn't like Toby.
Kisame and Itachi are like the only ones that actually are kind of cool. But Itachi's currently dying in this circumstance.
But
but
Kisame makes
Kisame's chakra abilities don't really work.
But Kisame also makes it very clear that if Itachi was to turn on the Akatsuki at any point, he would kill him in a heartbeat. So they're cool, but they're
Yeah.
cool in the sense of like, I can get along with you. We're not friends.
Yeah, so honestly, I think the only ones that would work cooperatively would probably just be Nagato, Conan, Itachi, and like Kisame. Itachi does not want to work with Obito under any circumstances.
Itachi
He
hates
hates
Obito.
Obito.
Itachi
He
hates
hates
Obito.
Obito.
He literally
Deidara,
put a trap within Sasuke's Sharingan to literally unleash the Amaterasu to try and kill Obito on sight.
yeah, I was gonna say he's also suspicious of Zetsu, Kakuzu, Hidan, Sasori, and Deidara are pretty much willing to kill any member they don't like with, and they're extremely impulsive. They are 40% of the entire Akatsuki organization. That's a pretty significant amount of your members that are homicidal towards your other members.
They're mercenary. It's only Nagato and Conan that are trying to achieve peace. The others are in it for protection and money. They don't care about the others.
And if they're ethical, like Itachi, they keep to themselves and don't bother other people. So they're not trying to fix a broken ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas like most of the characters in the JoJo side, there are some of them that would work together. And let's be clear here. Poochie or Part 3 Dio could sweep that entire team. Poochie from Part 6 and Dio from Part 3 would work together in character. They would see each other immediately and would start working together immediately. And
They
the
would
first
literally
thing
bunch
Dio's
up
gonna
together.
do is activate the world and move Poochie closer to them, and then Poochie's gonna start ripping out their suits. So it doesn't like you would just need the Dios and Poochie because they would work in character. You would not need anyone else.
How do we also
They would
put
just be
it?
spectators.
How do we also put it? It's also like the other villains. Well, as long as they don't get in each other's way, they can tolerate and get along with each other. They won't act. It won't be like the Akatsuki where they'll actively like have friction with each other.
Yeah, let's put it this way. Toryu just wants to create some life-saving medicine to help people and live his life. Yoshikage Kira just wants to live a peaceful life where he can like blow people up, mostly women, uh, and like basically steal his fingernails in a jar. He just wants to be like a psycho.
For Funny
As
Valentine,
long as nobody disrupts that, he doesn't care.
for Funny
Funny
Valentine,
Valentine wants to be the first one to take the napkin.
well, it's also like all you have to tell him is that like, see those people over there? Yeah, they're trying to fuck America. Bet.
Yeah, his goal is to basically become like the first major entrepreneur regarding the discovery of like the Holy Corpse, I believe, because he specifically wants to take America into like a new industrial age using the power of the Holy Corpse. So
Yeah,
his
but
grand designs are very different from
by
the rest
using
of
the
them.
Holy Corpse to basically point away all misfortune to other countries, which is
Yeah,
which
that was his original
unironically,
goal, was
which
to essentially prop up America.
which unironically you could probably say that's what America does anyway, but through the CIA. But that's neither here nor there.
Well, I'm saying Dio. Well, okay, Dio's goals are a bit different depending on which Dio you're talking about. Dio in Part 3 wants to guide humanity towards the path of heaven,
Well,
but he also just wants to kill the Joestars.
Technically, you only know that if you've been through Part 6.
Yes, but now that we know that, that is his goal. Since the Joestars aren't here, he wouldn't care about them. So his primary goal would be to guide humanity towards that, and he would just interpret all of the Akatsuki as a threat to humanity, especially since they're just a major terrorist organization that goes around blowing people up. Granted, he might not know that until they like imply it. Poochie literally follows the same goal. Dio from Part 1 would just listen to Dio from Part 3, and he also wants to turn people into vampires.
Yeah.
Huh.
Cards would literally just be like, as long as you all duck when I swing my dick, you'll be fine.
Yeah, just get out of my way. I don't care about any of you. I just don't want anyone to mess with my evolution because I just want to. I've become the perfect being. I'm just satisfied. So I'm just gonna go live my life. Cars might just leave the battlefield. Honestly, if Cars lost for any reason, it would be because he left and got disqualified for BFRing himself by leaving because he got bored.
That would be funny. Where are you going? This is I don't see how this is my problem.
I'm leaving. It's like you're not leaving. Just kills anybody that gets in his way. No. The real victor at the end of the day is just Cars, because everyone else tries to stop him from leaving the battlefield, and he just kills them all through some bullshit.
No,
And then honestly, Diavolo. I'm trying to remember what his goal was. Wasn't his goal just to become like
basically leave me
just
the
to
fuck.
make sure that no one ever found out who he was?
Yeah, basically make sure that no one knows that I am the boss of Passione. Which, let's be very clear here, as long he can show his actual face. It's just if you know he's the boss. If you don't know he's the boss, it doesn't matter to him if you've seen his face.
Yeah, the only person that would know maybe him is probably just Dio, because he was sold the stand arrows in Egypt, but that's assuming
He
Dio
wasn't
was
sold
there
them?
to perform the trans.
He wasn't
Well,
sold.
so that this is assuming
it
he
was
was there to
Inyaba.
perform the transaction.
It was Inyaba who
Yeah,
sold it to him,
yes.
and so maybe Inyaba told Dio about him.
But that would that wouldn't matter though. Like even if he figure out
He would
about
never
it later,
he would never
wouldn't
mention
say
it to
anything
him
about
anyway.
it. Yeah, and even if he did mention it to it, he'd be like, I don't care. Who fucking cares? I just want to guide humanity towards the path of heaven or whatever, or I want to show them their true desires or something. And Diavolo's gonna be like, what the hell is he talking about?
It's basically just like whatever.
Yeah, so they would work well with each other because they wouldn't get in each other's way.
They wouldn't only like two. Only like a handful of them would actively help each other, while the rest would literally just like not get in each other's way.
Oh, I found it funny that he basically said, "Wait, what part are you? What part are you at? Like, what timestamp are you at?"
32, 34.
Okay. Oh wait, so you have the point where he's talking about Wonder Review Love Train, where he says, Valentine can pull alternate versions of any fighters. If an alternate version doesn't cooperate or listen, Valentine could just swap them out for another version. So I guess if you're going to argue it that way, where Valentine just decides to take control of the battlefield, yeah, that's very going to depend on whether Poochie's okay with that or not. Because Love Train is busted, but I don't think Love Train can control time and gravity. And if Poochie has a problem with you swapping out specific versions of his literal god, he might decide to activate Made in Heaven. Gonna be honest, it's more likely that when you think about it, the JoJo's characters are more likely to kill each other than the Akatsuki is to kill one JoJo's character.
Well, let's be
And
very
it would
clear
only
here,
be
like,
over something like that.
well, let's be very clear here. Like, Funny's not fighting the other members of the JoJo team, so he has no reason to bring other members of the JoJo team. He'd probably just bring other like versions of the Akatsuki.
He would probably bring other members of that, or he'd bring other versions of himself to help with the fight by providing like supporting numbers. If he just decided, you know what, I need to take the napkin, but in order to take the napkin, I need to defeat all these enemies here for America, and then he'll just summon all these different versions of himself.
And none of those versions of himself he'll bring will ever know what his father was like.
Why do you say that like it makes any difference?
I'm just saying, trying to actively be a dictator around the world and only bring prosperity to America is fatherless behavior.
Yeah, it is. But still funny. I just don't think that Valentine would be taking control of the situation to the point where he would actively be like throwing out certain members of his team to replace them with other team members.
That's also under the assumption that like the other members of the JoJo team are being killed off, which you'd have no reason to assume they would be. Especially because he seems to forget that at the start of this video, he already has them at MFTL reaction.
Yeah. Anyway, let's continue. Let's see what else he says.
So Toru is just in general a great defense, and Valentine is the one that can be like, hey, look, our part 3 deal isn't really listening to me, so I'm gonna bring another part 3 deal. Hey, yo, you two cannot talk to each other. Don't touch each other because you will explode and die. That's an issue. But if you don't do that, we can beat these guys over there, and that is on the table. And it's not coordination, but it's spacing, it's intention, and it's capabilities mainly. And I think that truly in a head-to-head, as is in terms of like, let's say that both Kishimoto and Araki are writing it, I think truthfully they would just make the Akatsuki like sort of win, but it would be all like, oh, but we got someone like Toru or...
Okay, so 33-21. If they were to both talk about it, no, they wouldn't have the Akatsuki win. It would be more of a tie, but I guarantee you there'd be more bodies dropped off the Akatsuki than it would be for the villains.
That just doesn't make any sense.
Valentine or something like that, just blew them all up, and they would do it in a huge draw. But I think genuinely in terms of writing past like the idea of like, oh, a really optimistic version of Valentine can get this stuff to play out and go about his stuff. It's like that can totally work in terms of practicality. Have we had stuff that work like that in general? Eyes of Heaven isn't canon, so nah. But I do think that...
Pause. Eyes of Heaven isn't canon. Eyes of Heaven is canon. It's an alternate story. It's an alternate timeline of if Dio won at Egypt. That's literally the premise of Eyes of Heaven. So it is canon.
they have all of the cards to say that it should work. I think textbook-wise, the Akatsuki should win. Not every time. They should win a lot. But when it comes down to how hacks...
They should win never. They don't have the speed or the hacks to get around most of the JoJo villains.
They don't have the power to put them down outside of Datara's bombs. And Datara's bombs would kill all of the members of the Akatsuki. Or at least they blow up the entire area where they're in, which would probably either kill them or force them to evacuate the entire area.
The gap
and
is
Datara's
just...
never going to use that, so...
Yeah.
It's too large to imagine, I think. Because Funny Valentine can have Datara, can have a Datara, Sasori can have a Sasori, Obito can have an Obito. Everybody can have a version of themselves, and that is broken. Would he do that? He kind of did do that. So it's...
Okay, so maybe I'm missing some context here. Maybe I wasn't listening. Maybe I got King Crimsoned. Why is he assuming that Funny Valentine would be like this battlefield general and not like the literal like Pillar Man who's been alive for thousands of years?
So first of all, Funny Valentine would probably try to take matters into his own hands, but he wouldn't be leading the rest of the team. He'd just be doing his own thing. And secondly, that's not how D4C works. If he grabbed another version of Obito, both of the versions of Obito would be dismantled at the atomic level. He wouldn't be able to keep one of them around unless he got rid of the other one. Like, that's just not how it works. Like, they make it a point that it is a fundamental law of the universe that two objects of the exact, two types of the exact same object cannot occupy the same space. Or if they do, they will forcibly like fuse in the same matter because it causes a contradiction. And that results in their matter being dismantled at the atomic level. So if he brings in another version of Obito, they will both die.
Yeah. And that's also, that'll also cause like battlefield confusion because it's just like they won't understand why there's another version of themselves and why they're being drawn towards that other version of myself.
Yeah, and what happens if they... when that happens, he'll be like, oh, I just got a Kamui or something. So like, what happens then? Like, if they both jump into the Kamui dimension... Well, actually, no, that would be kind of fucked, because if one of them decided to use Kamui, even if they figured out what happened, and like let's say Obito 1 sucked himself into the Kamui dimension, right? And Obito 2 is in there. Wouldn't he just get sent to the same Kamui dimension? And then that would also mean the first Obito wouldn't be able to use Kamui anymore. Because they would just end up in the same dimension.
Well, here's food for thought that a lot of people don't seem to remember that actually happened in Part 7. Funny Valentine doesn't need you to come into contact with another alive version of yourself. He can just throw body parts of your dead, like, alternate timeline.
Yeah, he can also do other things, like... Well, okay. Technically speaking, he could do this. He doesn't usually do this. He can go to another alternate timeline and figure out, like, who you are and grab someone that specifically wants to fight you. So he doesn't have to bring a copy of you. He could bring anyone on that planet to come fight you. So he could just go to the Naruto world and grab a random ninja from the Leaf Village and bring them back. That's assuming he even needed to do that. He could just grab Kakashi.
No, it's like, God forbid, he goes to an alternate timeline where it's like, at this point in time, they're not fighting the JoJo villains, they're fighting, like, Team 7. He could just, like, kidnap, like, this Naruto and have this Naruto not know what's happening and come and fuck up these Akatsuki with them.
Or worst case scenario, he goes to an alternate timeline and he grabs Minato if Minato never died and had Sage Mode. Just drops him in there and is like, please kill these people for the good of America. And Minato's like, I don't know what America is, but as long as this protects the Leaf Village.
I don't know what this America is you speak of, but you look majestic. You must be friendly.
It sounds a lot like the Leaf Village. Let's go.
Does the Leaf Village also like going into countries and destabilizing? We do! How did you know? We'll be great friends.
We do. Do you also send children to fight your wars? I mean, kind of, yeah. So like, the point is that most times when he just brings you in, he's just going to dismantle. Or he'll be able to argue. He's not going to use it as a support ability. He can, but he typically won't. It's an offensive ability.
Yeah, because a lot of people seem to forget that, like, the original Diego that we follow throughout most of Part 7 is dead. The one that has the world is one that Funny Valentine brought over as, like, a last-ditch effort to fuck over Johnny.
Yeah, that wasn't the original Diego, so.
Alright, continuing.
Like, oh shoot, okay, so this is like, it kind of depends on how we're going about this. How are we gonna, like, they would have to build up a knowledge of Valentine to figure out truly what the heck is going on, like, what's that guy doing over there? But I think by the time they figure that out, and they've been pursuing in general, alongside, like, Toru being in the picture, they kind of already lost. That's how I think it works. I do think that they have better coordination in general, and I think if it was like a group thing where it's just all like duos take out duos, there are gonna be some duos that run right through, you know? I don't think that Part 1 Dio and Yoshikage Kira is a good duo. I think Kira with Part 3 is good. I think Cars with, like, Pucci is amazing, you know? But a lot of the time, like, some people just aren't contenders. Like we already spoke about, like, the first, like, 4 essentially being not as good, nowhere near as like the top 2, but especially not like the top 4. I think truly, if someone was to think about what I've said and even introduce their own scaling and stuff, they'll probably come to the conclusion like, hey man, like, Wonder of You and Funny Valentine are doing so much carrying, and let's say like Pucci also, like, oh, these guys are carrying so much. You're saying like the top 3 guys, they beat us out, like, for the most part, and so there's a lot of people that get smoked out by Deidara. Hey, true, you know, to me Deidara is strong as hell. I love Deidara, you know, and Sasuke. I love Naruto in general. I love the franchise. It was my thing.
Okay, so let me just pause right there. If we're talking about duos, let me just settle for the record which duos would be anybody. That is to say, any character on this duo would guarantee that duo would go straight to victory. Part 3 Dio with anyone with the world sweeps anyone in the Akatsuki. They have no counter time stop. Star World is way stronger than any of them physically, can rip out their soul way faster. Bam. Instant win con.
Actually, there's something better. There's something better for Part 3 Dio that we never brought up. Or Cars.
Which is what?
None of the Akatsuki are capable of negating their regeneration.
I mean, yeah, but like I never figured it was like relevant because I didn't think they were gonna touch them. Because like technically speaking, you just have to zone the JoJo's characters, but like if you can't zone them because they keep fucking with reality, you have to get in close and then you die. You know that song and dance. So Dio with any group would beat anybody. Poochie with any group would beat anybody. Funny Valentine with any group, for the reasons we've just mentioned, would beat anybody. Toru with any group would definitely beat anybody because Toru was already an annoyance to deal with. If he actually had another stand user backing him up, you're not beating Toru. Cars with any group of people is going to beat anybody. So Diavola with anybody is beating anybody. He can see the future 10 seconds ahead of time, can race time for 10 seconds. Like he has everything covered. The only people who don't have like immediate counters to every situation is just part 1 Dio and part 4 Yoshikage Kira. Which, to be fair, he did mention that, like, technically they are the worst duo. I think they are, but that's just because their abilities aren't as broken. They still win con everybody, because all Kira has to do is touch any member of the Akatsuki, and they are completely, certifiably 100% dead.
Or just, like, tell them his name.
Oh, tell them his name, and then they decide to be like, well, Yoshikage Kira, I'm going to take you out then. The Akatsuki has ordered your death. Bam, bites the dust is gone.
So something else that we didn't cover when we were talking about Kira, something that we didn't cover was like he doesn't have to wait for a specific time. Like he can set bites the dust to go off at a certain time, or he can just blow it up manually like one of his bombs. He doesn't have to wait.
Yeah. Part 1 Dio is honestly the weakest one out of all of them. Not just like stats wise, like he just has like the weakest options, but he still has the entire stone vampire ability. So I would say all of them sweep universally, provided their win con is applicable. Most of them can activate their win con because a lot of their abilities involve warping reality or affecting time in a way that you can't perceive them. So they just speed blitz you. Or they just have like Dio or Cars' physiology where you just can't kill them. But yeah.
Yep, we'll continue. I'm at 35-40.
But, you know, even if it is like, damn, those guys are carrying, like, hey, look, the job gets done, though. And that's truly what matters. Like, is the job finished? Yes or no? So, yeah, individually, I think that if we put this to, like, a record, you're going to see, like, we're going to show, like, very clear patterns of, man, Kira, Dio, and Diavolo, they have strong things going for them, but are they, like, a cohesive type of people compared to how the Naruto characters are, like, so damn well-rounded? It's like, nah, but those guys are ninjas, bro. Like Diavolo didn't have to worry about fighting the whole ninja world. He was fighting, like, our world, and, like, a group led with, like, a 15-year-old and a 19-year-old. Like, bro, it was some weak-ass shit. But as long as the team clutches it out, really, like, what else matters, man? Dude, like, we can have Diablo as, like, reconnaissance. Like, he could just be an intel guy. Be like, oh, yeah, I saw that in the future, bro. It's so, don't get hit with this. He's about to do this. And they'll be like, oh, damn, Diablo. You know, I know that you were replaced with Funny Valentine's version of Diablo, but I like you way more because you're way more social and you still have the same stand, which is broken. The idea that, like, oh, yeah, there's like a whole bunch of universes that can eventually just help out Valentine. Be like, oh, man, he picked the right thing. He can literally go switch out the matchup and be like, yo, I don't like this version of the Akatsuki. Go beat a different one. And then come back to this one being like, I learned some new stuff. I brought an Akatsuki with me. What? What does that mean? It means that Valentine's broken. It means that Toru's broken. It means that Rika Pucci, pretty freaking broken, I would say. I think the Akatsuki were great if that they were getting the JoJo villains individually, but then that wouldn't be the group fight like we're talking about. I think that Soul Extraction works on everybody, right?
So I just brought to that 37-24. The problem that he has is that he's looking at this as the best case scenario for every Akatsuki member, but his biggest issue is that he's also running this prerequisite where he forgets that he says that, like, they don't know what powers these people are running. But if they don't know what powers they're running, why would they be in situations where Data is flying? Why would Itachi use, like, the Susanoo? Like,
if you give them intel,
the more of these things that you try and give the Akatsuki, the more you have to try and justify it if they don't know what the opponent is going to do.
This is almost everything I seem to see in Naruto versus matchups, is that pretty much everyone doesn't seem to realize that the Akatsuki and factions like them, like the Kage, the Sannin, whatever Uchiha character that they're using, because they're always using the same characters, they always end up falling back on the position that, like, what if I just activate their ultimate ability for no contextual reason and they just use it in character? Aside from the fact that most of the times it doesn't even work, they can never provide a proper justification for why. It's like, why would the human path just run up to the characters and try to rip out their souls? He didn't even do that in the actual series. In fact, most of the time when the human path interacted with people, he was only doing it for information, and he was just reading people's minds. He only ripped out their soul after he was done reading their mind. It was mainly used for information gathering and surveillance. It was not meant as like a kill option.
It was an inadvertent byproduct of the ability of mind reading.
No, like technically the ability is just interacting with the soul, and through that you find the mind. Like you're mainly using it for a different reason, even if you can rip out the soul. So this is without mentioning that, like, because of what a stand is, I would just argue that while they can rip out a soul, they would not be able to fuck with the stand specifically. And if they try to rip out their soul and the stand sees that, the stand's just gonna grab their hand and prevent that from happening. Because the stand isn't like a normal spiritual object. It's an object made up of subatomic particles constructed into an actual body. Spiritual subatomic particles. So if you try to interact with it with a soul-based attack, it'll just flick that attack away. So the human path is not very effective against like 90% of these characters.
So this is something that people seem to forget. We know that stands can mess with souls and like concepts. It can mess with souls because that's shown with the ghost in part 4, and we know that it can fuck with concepts because when Pinocchio is destroyed in part 6, the very concept of Pinocchio when Bohemian Rhapsody ends just disappears from the world.
Oh, it's also because Bohemian Rhapsody is a really silly ability. I was just gonna say that this thing that he puts on here is like he's one guy but 6 people. That doesn't matter. Most of these characters have ways of turning the enemy against them, or are one-man armies. I was saying completely ridiculous. Paid's abilities are not that ridiculous. Half of the abilities don't do anything outside of their own burst, or if they are, they're extremely limited and wouldn't be useful in this particular ability. Literal one-man army was one of the best one-shot abilities in the game, except for the fact that it's not, because you have to physically touch them, and half of these characters, if you're physically touching them, is a death sentence.
This one-shot ability that people keep bringing up for Tendo Pain is literally like, if you mean the almighty push that erased the Leaf Village, that took so much chakra and so much prep time that they were lucky.
Oh,
they were lucky for 2 things. One, they were lucky that Guy wasn't in the village, because they make it clear that if Guy was in the village, the fight would have turned out differently with the paths. Secondly, they are lucky that no one in that village knew how to fly and could pursue him.
No one in the village also knew the flying Raijin, or like other teleporting techniques, because there are other jutsu they could have used that would have been effective. But
plus,
they
only get as far as they do in the Leaf Village because, one, it was a sneak attack and they were unprepared. People seem to forget the start of the... People seem to forget that the start of the chaos is that they spawn into the middle of the village and start tearing shit up. They didn't bust through the front gate and they didn't come like an army. They didn't give them a warning. They basically snuck their way in and then started causing trouble.
Well, technically, they just jump in through the barrier. They point out that they don't have the password to get in, because the way that you get into the Leaf Village is that there is a sort of sensory barrier around it. So if you go inside of the village, if you try to jump over the wall, you will immediately be detected by your chakra signature if you have one. But they were like, that doesn't matter. We don't care. Because what we're going to do is we're just going to summon in with a summon pass, and we're just going to summon in a shitload of animals and just start causing chaos. And they're not going to know where we are because of the chakra rods and our chakra signature being exactly the same. And it worked. That's why when they tried to locate the Pains, they couldn't locate which one, because they all have the same exact chakra signature. And also all the animals as well. But, as far as I'm saying, it's literally one of the best one-shot abilities in the game. Like, it's not even the best one-shot ability that the Akatsuki have. Datara's bombs are more consistent than anything the Paths of Pain can do, because they blow up more stuff, and they can be used from the air. They're also more versatile. Itachi's Totsuka Blade is way better, because it actually can kill someone on the JoJo's team. Although, Itachi wouldn't pull it out normally. Honestly, Sasori's poison is more effective just because it would paralyze them. Like, it wouldn't kill them, but paralyzing people is a pretty massive advantage. And honestly, Conan's paper bombs and her Shigekami jutsu would probably be more consistent, putting pressure up. Any large scale, like long range jutsu from either Datara, Kisame, or Sasori would be more effective than using the human path. Because, like I said, touching these characters is a death sentence. You touch Kira, you get blown up with bombs, completely existence erasure. You touch Dio in either of his parts. He touches your body and changes all the fluids in your body into ice, freezes you, or boils you alive. Cars absorbs you completely just by touching him.
Well, let's say for
Funny
instance,
Valentine.
let's say for instance that they try and use let's say. Let's be generous. Let's say they use a paper bomb to try and blow like a massive chunk of Dio's body off. Okay, he'll stop time and then he'll kill you because you didn't do anything to his brain. And that's something that you're gonna have to find out is to aim for the head.
Assuming your bombs would even be strong enough to penetrate his brain.
And aiming for the head only works because he has a weak connection to Jonathan's body.
So he says, wait, let's continue further if he mentions, because he mentions that soul extraction will work on everybody.
No.
The issue is, could you get to the point where you could do it?
For sure.
Not everybody.
Will it work on everybody? I think it'll work on everybody. That counts as intent.
More like not anybody.
And look, it's a pursuit and it's a misfortune. You know, no one wants to get hit with Tsukuyomi, parentheses, negative, so it probably wouldn't work. But yeah, I would say so. I think that JoJo's power ceiling is just higher, and I think reality warping beats out stuff like chakra techniques. The Akatsuki's team...
So, when it comes to Itachi's win con, why would they hide behind Itachi?
Yeah, behind the dying man that's constantly dying every 5 seconds.
It's like, okay, let's play that card. Let's play that card and let's go to its inevitable conclusion. Let's say they hide behind him and use him as a glorified meat shield. Okay, that's only going to last for so long until he runs out of chakra or he goes blind. Congratulations, not only did you lose the smartest member of your team, but you pretty much lost the only person who could probably like figure out most of the other JoJo abilities if given enough time.
I was gonna say, it'd be better. Honestly, best case scenario would be to have Kisame feed Itachi chakra from Samehada and tell him to never use the Mangekyo under any circumstances, and just use his intellect to figure out what's going on. And that is the only hope you have for killing one member of their entire team. Aside from that, Itachi is not a defensive ninja. He has no defensive ninjutsu. He's not capable of creating like Earth style, like mud walls or anything like that, or sealing off like territories. The only person that could do something like that is like probably Kakuzu or Datara, but they don't use abilities like that.
His entire fighting style is built around assassination and deception. He's an assassin.
And he's not meant to be a tank. He's not meant to be a tank or to defend or control space. The only person that can really do that is Datara, and Datara does have the right chakra style for it.
If you were to,
but the problem is that Datara is based on demolition.
If you were to try and put Itachi into a game, he would be a rogue.
Yeah, pretty much. Like a thief of some kind. Honestly, like the only person that can play defensively here, if you want to call it that, is just like, you're not making like a massive amount of assumptions about what jutsu they have, because you can't prove that they've shown every style jutsu, and that would just be for Kakuzu and Datara. Is just pain, and that would just be assuming the diva path can just always stand in front of everybody and almighty push away everything that attacks them. Which in character, the diva path would not do that. He would not be like,
because again,
meat shielding every member. There's also only one diva path.
Well, because it's also like
there's like 10 members he's got to defend.
So what a lot of people who talk about Nagato or use like Tendo Pain seem to forget is even the small personalized version of Almighty Push has a cooldown and eats a ton of chakra.
Yeah. Well, it's. I think he should have enough chakra if he's using like the smallest ones, because he can technically use it over and over again. The
Yeah,
main reason he took so long to use it
but it's like,
again was because he used it to blow up the entire village.
but it's like a 3 to 5 second charge every time he uses the personal one.
It's a 5 second like cooldown, but he can just keep using it over and over and over again. He's also an Uzumaki, so he's going to be able to use it like all day long. But the issue is that I don't think that matters because you can't protect the entire
Well,
Akatsuki
the worst part is,
all at once.
well, the worst part is, and let's be very generous here, he gets it off 3 times. All of the villains, because they have like genius level intellect, will clock it that it has a cooldown time, so they'll just wait for him to use it and then dogpile him.
Yeah, no, that's what Kakashi figured out. It's like relatively easy. It's not difficult to figure that out. You would just throw things at him or do something to intercept him until you eventually realize why is he not doing it. There has to be some condition that needs to be met. Better test out that hypothesis with some ranged attacks, which, spoiler warning, most of them have. Uh,
Nah,
it's not going to be very difficult.
we got a minute left. Let's see if we can get through it.
Work is better for sure, and coordination will beat individualness, like all individual powers and stuff. But if an individual's power is better than teamwork, then what are you supposed to do when there's like more than one of them? I think that's fair. But yeah, this is just me on this video. If any Naruto creators of like comparable size or something like that, I don't freaking know. Maybe.
Wait. So his biggest takeaway is, let's be realistic here. He's banking on Itachi and Pain.
Yep.
That's, you know what, being a dead horse, and we've already gone over in detail how the JoJo villains would pretty much stomp them into the ground. So let's see if he says anything else or if it's just promotional.
You just know power scale and stuff like that, and you're another creator like that, then yeah, maybe we can link on some shit. You know, I already do so with Metas, but I'm looking to see if like other franchises and stuff want to talk about JoJo and shit like that. That'd be great. I'd really have fun. It's more so about figuring it out together. I don't really care to do like my franchise beats your franchise because I'm not Araki and I'm not getting paid to be JoJo. You know, like that's that's not my thing. I just want to figure it out together. Also, I do plan on talking about Baki because I've been catching it up on that, and oh my god, crazy. But you know, that's something else.
Okay, so he's pretty much done.
Hmm.
I mean, it looked nice, but I wouldn't even say it was.
There's not much to say.
Well, I wouldn't even like. Sure, it looked nice, but there was a bunch of PNGs and backgrounds. I wouldn't even say that it was even like well edited because it wasn't really. It was edited, but it was. It was kind of like the low edits version that I wish Zim would do.
Yeah, the organization was a little bit weird. I know we talked for a lot more than like necessary, but I feel like his portion made it longer than necessary. This whole video could have been like 15 minutes or less if he just compiled it less or compiled it a little bit more consistently and didn't do so much rambling. Like everything we talked about was directly relevant to the subject at hand because we were discussing specifically how the abilities worked and how they functioned in synchronism with one another. We didn't even go over everything that we needed to go over. He kept saying like, well, maybe this ability would work if we worked as a team or not, or maybe it would, without actually discussing like, oh, here's the manga panel that actually shows how the ability works. This is what it's described. This is what the other ability works like. Since
You know
we
what I
don't
found?
actually have the information to conclude this,
You know
it
what I
loses
found?
to this other ability.
I found when he was talking about the JoJo powers, I think he just took screenshots from the JoJo wiki because that looked like the JoJo wiki.
No, that is the JoJo's wiki. That is the JoJo's wiki. I've seen it before. He did just take screenshots of it for Wonder Review. So it really makes me wonder if he actually read if he read Part 8.
I'm sure he has. He's been a JoJo's YouTuber for a while. I'm sure he's read it. But if you've read it, because like Part 8 has its colored scans out, you couldn't have just like quickly gone through and grabbed all of the like explanations for how the abilities work. Like it's literally like 2 seconds, and they only ever like come up during the fight that they're in. So if you took like an afternoon to go searching for each part, you could get like all the stuff you need.
Yeah. Either way,
I think that is it for today.
That will be it for
Farewell.
today. I'm very hungry and I need to have dinner before I stream with Zim later. Thank you for joining me. And I will try and upload this post haste. Until then, I will talk to you later, Mangler. I have got some things to take care of in the meantime.
Yes. Be sure to end that recording.
I will.